Greetings and salutation, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the eighth season of the time. Oh, is it Timeless Gamer Show, where our games and our bodies may grow out of date, but our gaming experiences will forever remain timeless. And now the podcast is streaming live in Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And for all our archived videos of previous episodes, you can still check them out by going to the YouTube channel of Timeless Gamer Show. Or you can just also listen to us talk without our beautiful faces. That's okay. You can just go listen to us to all of the major audio streaming platforms out there by searching in Timeless Gamers Show. And previously on the Timeless Gamer Show, me and Sir JDM had a little bit of a one-on-one, heart-to-heart talk discussing the PlayStation, the Nintendo, and the Xbox showcases for the first quarter of 2024. And just a retrospective live reactions to some of the games that were included or were announced during those three showcases. So if you are curious on all of the smack that we talked about, you can still go on ahead and check out the live video of that, going to the YouTube channel of the Timeless Gamer Show, or the audio version of it by going to Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and all those stuff. All right. And for this particular episode, it's supposed to be uh, in the celebration of Mario Day. Mario, as in Nintendo's mascot, Mario. And in doing this show for quite a while, and personally, I don't even know that Mario had its own holiday. Supposedly, it's March 10th. So if you're going, so the fans, to my understanding, so the fans thought of March 10th. If you're going to, if you're going to spell that out, it's MAR and then 10
Zero.
March 10th. So supposedly it's March 10th of every year. We're going to celebrate Mario Day. Pretty much what they did with
Yes.
Star Wars, May 4th, May Force, right? It's a
May
play
the
of
fourth.
words.
You
Sure.
you know people whenever they see any coincidence, they just
It's just a coincidence, right? And
yeah.
I'm not even sure when this day started because I,
Mm.
I only came around with it when Sir JDM brought it up to me a few days ago, and I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, it's almost March 10th anyway. Let's just do a show talking about Mario, okay? To
Mm.
celebrate everything Mario for this particular episode. Well, not necessarily everything. I mean, we cannot really cover everything and everything Mario. So we're just going to do at least the earlier years of Mario, okay?
Mm.
And nothing more appropriate than talking about the history of Mario by not including one of our historians here in the Timeless Gamer Show, Sir Viraj, representing Mega
Hey.
Mega Masters.
Good to be here, and welcome to those of you guys watching. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about Nintendo's flagship mascot, which is Super Mario. Where do we begin this story? Should we begin at his origins? I think that's always a good place to start. So, was it where did he begin? 1981. I mean, there's a bit of ambiguity to this because his series actually began in '85, but 1981 is where he was featured in the first video game. But he wasn't called Mario; he was called Jumpman, and the game was called Donkey Kong. And actually, it may have not transpired that he may have not even been created because the creator Shigeru Miyamoto of that classic arcade game wanted to feature Popeye in that game, but because they couldn't get the licensing or whatever, he went and just developed Mario. So that's it. That's the rest is history, you know. And the game was very popular in the arcades. And Mario had a few other follow-up sort of adventures, such as he was featured in Wrecking Ball as a sort of similar character, or sorry, not Wrecking Ball, Wrecking Crew. That was another sort of spin-off game that they created. But there was a game called Mario Brothers, and that was an arcade game that came out in '83. and that was actually his first sort of arcade feature. And that's actually, you play as Mario and Luigi, and so if you played that game, you got like, you know, Mario and Luigi, they come out, and there's, you know, Koopas and all sorts of menaces coming out of pipes, and that they have to sort of take out, and then they get points for every one that they take out, and they get coins as well. They're coins from doing that, as memory serves correct. So after that, you know, it was such a success. When the NES came out in America, this was sort of their killer app, and it was Super Mario Brothers, and that was like his first main game. I think a lot of people's first Mario experience was Super Mario Brothers on the Nintendo Entertainment System, and it came out in '85. And you know, during an era of uncertainty in the United States, it helped basically, you know, revitalize the home console market, because, you know, those of you who know there was a console crash in America, and people had sort of been disillusioned with all these terrible video games and on the Atari and all these other clone consoles that were just putting out rubbish, really, that weren't really playable video games that you'd enjoy. But Nintendo came out in America, and Super Mario Brothers was the game. And this is like the pixel. If those of you watching anyway, you can see I've pulled out an amiibo, but it shows obviously a 3D pixel drawing of what he looked like. And because of the limitations of the hardware at the time, this is the best that they could do with drawing him. Obviously, those who see a modern representation of him doesn't look anything like this. But, you know, onwards and upwards, it was a huge success. And the NES became the most dominant system in America and the planet at that point in time, from 1985 and then 1986. And then going forward, you have other games that were sort of created, and what we had a sequel called Super Mario Brothers 2, but that was only created in Japan, and that's now we know it in the West as Super Mario Brothers: The Lost Levels. But that is a very, very hard sequel. So if for those of you who want to play it, you can play it in many ways and forms, but that's a very difficult game if you want a challenge. Probably the hardest Mario game I've ever played, to be honest. They made it insanely difficult. So you have that, and then it followed up with Super Mario Brothers 2, which was another interesting one, because even though we say Super Mario Brothers 2 Lost Levels in Japan, well, it's called Super Mario Brothers Lost Levels here, but it was called Super Mario Brothers 2 in Japan. We had Super Mario Brothers 2 USA, as the Japanese call it, which is basically a reskin of a Japanese Super Famicom Disk System game called Doki Doki Panic. And that was released for the West because it was actually graphically nicer, and they needed the game for the holiday season, and that's why they brought that out. And that was successful in its own merit, even though it looked a bit different to what a Mario game should be. And then come, 1989, they bring out Super Mario Brothers 3, and that was a huge success. 1989, 1990. That again regarnered interest for the aging Nintendo Entertainment System. And what made that game special, it was, if you actually look at the first Mario game on the NES, or the NES if you like, and if you look at the third game, there's a huge graphical uplift. And that's because at that point, Nintendo had innovated and put enhancement chips for the graphics in the cartridge itself to make it look that way. So there's a lot of engineering that went into Super Mario Brothers 3. And to my knowledge, I believe that was probably one of the highest, after the original Super Mario Bros., that was one of the highest selling games for the original Nintendo Entertainment System. And that's actually a lot of people's favorite Mario game, the third one, because it innovated the gameplay to the point where you have a world map. You can pick and choose the levels you want. You can transform, and you have a lot of items and extras. You got bonus stages and whatnot to get extra lives. You had obviously, all the other games were always two-player alternative. You had that as well, and it was a lot of fun. You had different themes, different worlds, and that was kind of like a precursor to what was going to happen on the next gen system, which was Super Nintendo. And Super Nintendo, obviously, we had Super Mario World, which was his 16-bit outing. So you have that, and that was my first sort of proper Mario game I got into, even though I was introduced to the first one. And I played them on the Super Nintendo as part of Super Mario Brothers Super Mario Brothers All Stars, which is basically a cartridge, which was basically a 16-bit upscale of those first 4 Mario games on the Nintendo Entertainment System, which was Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2, Super Mario Bros. 3, and Super Mario Bros. Lost Levels, which was actually Super Mario Bros. 2 in Japan. So my first sort of outing with the Mario Brothers franchise was on the Super Nintendo, really. That's when I really started to get into it. Not so much the original NES, because I could never really get on with that system. I was too young for it at the time, in my defense. But yeah, it was Super Mario World was actually my first sort of main Mario game that I loved and I completed. I had a lot of fun with that because, again, they innovated in the gameplay. Now, Mario has Yoshi. He can ride on a dinosaur. He can really fly. I mean, he could fly in Mario Bros. 3, but he could fly in Mario World. Lot more color, a lot more detail, much better level design, a much bigger world. And a lot more fun. And Super Mario World was really the killer app for the Super Nintendo, and that really came out in 1990. That was really a big thing for the Super Nintendo when I had it, and I really enjoyed that game thoroughly. I think that's probably one of the top 10 best games on Super Nintendo, I'd say. So Mario retains his flagship status. He was the poster child for Nintendo. And let's not forget, there's also the handheld as well. So not only was Mario big in the console world, you had the Game Boy. And it was Mario had a release title on that, and it was a packing title as well, just in the same way Super Mario Brothers was a packing for the NES. Super Mario Land, that came out in '89, and that was probably the highest selling Mario game on the handheld because it was a packing. I had that game, and then it had a great sequel, and that was Super Mario Land 2 and the 6 golden coins, and that again was a great game because it had that Super Mario Brothers 3 style graphics. Again, it was a huge difference between the first game and the second game in terms of the way it looked. And then you had obviously Super Mario Land 3, which is actually Wario Land, which is obviously a spin-off from that. So you have another series that spawned off of Mario. So again, on the handheld front, Mario was winning there. Mario was also dominating on the console front. It was a big deal. And then as time goes on, you see, look, we've got video playing, we've got Mario Brothers cartoons that were coming out, and there are a couple of them that came out in the 80s and 90s. And Nintendo was big in America, so of course it's gonna come out, and you're gonna get all this media stuff. And let's not forget, you also had the sort of Mario Brothers movie that came out with Bob Hoskins, which we don't really like to talk about because it was so bad, It's one of those guilty pleasures for a lot of people. I was actually talking to a colleague of mine about that movie yesterday, and he goes, he was old enough to see that film in the cinemas, and when he came out of the cinema, he actually said, "I want my money back." That's how bad it was. He was very upset about the film and the quality. But as time has gone on, we've had another Mario Brothers recently last year, which I'm sure you're all aware of, which was a huge success, and I think everyone here said that they thoroughly enjoyed the film. So they're right and wrong in that regard by keeping it purely animated. So we're back here in the 1990s with Super Nintendo. Again, Mario continues to be successful because he's known as a platform game, right? So we've got a platform, but then he ventures out into other genres as well. Okay, and obviously one thing I forgot to mention is that even on the NES you had Mario Golf as well, so he's also in sports games. And also you got Mario Tennis that eventually will come out later on. But you also have Mario RPG, with Square. That was the role-playing game that a lot of people loved. Came out a very, very accessible game, and they've recently had a remake of that, which everybody went gaga over last year. You have that. You had, Mario. What else did you have on the Super Nintendo? Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart.
Yeah,
that was big. That's a huge franchise for Nintendo. So Mario's featured in that, and he's got his own racing game, and that again is probably a top 10 title for Super Nintendo for a lot of people. I mean, it's featured on the Super Nintendo Classic Mini, so again, another classic for many Super Nintendo lovers. So you have that too. So there were a whole host of games that were coming out for Super Nintendo with Mario. You had Mario Paint, so you got Mario featured in a paint design software game for Super Nintendo. So you had a mouse where you could actually draw things, and you can create music in that software on Super Nintendo. So I remember there was an advertising campaign here, and that's how big a deal it was. So you had a lot of fun with that particular game. So, going back to the whole point of the Mario Brothers game, you got different genres he's featured in. He also had educational software as well. I think Mario's Missing was one of them on the Super Nintendo, and there's Mario, I think it's a time machine, Mario's Time Machine, I think that's what it's called. So these are educational games teaching people about history and things. And I think some of them were featured on MS-DOS, but I think we'll get a little video here from Sir Joel when he posts it here, and he'll have his little segment talking about these other games.
I remember this one.
Yes.
The Mario Brothers Super Show, you had that as well. So again,
Yeah, we know that one.
So a lot of people watch this. I watched this. I watched that on a rerun because we didn't get it, and a lot of people, just love the Mario Brothers cartoons. They're a lot of fun.
And by the way, a little trivia: if you're a fan of this cartoon, the Mario rap was written by him, Saban, the Saban production, the one who made Power Rangers.
Oh, Saban Entertainment.
Saban, yes, Saban Entertainment. He's also the one who composed the Mario rap, along with I read it from one of his these articles that I saw previously. Yeah, and I didn't even know that he could do such a thing. Maybe he was a fan of rap music back in the early 80s.
Yeah. Maybe he was, and it was a thing, wasn't it? So there you go. But we were at the 2D era. We're talking about Super Nintendo, and then obviously the next generation is now dawning. Now, like Mario's made his stamp. He's the Nintendo mascot, and he's sort of retained his title because he have quality games on the Nintendo Entertainment System, quality games on Super Nintendo Entertainment System, quality games on the Game Boy hardware. So where else do we see Mario appear? The successor system for the Super Nintendo would be the Nintendo 64, which was their 3D system, because the way things were going, and I think Sony obviously forced everybody's hands into moving gaming into a 3D space. And Nintendo knew this as well. And they launched the Nintendo 64, which was, arguably of that era, the 5th generation, the most powerful system graphically. And Mario 64 was a launch title for the system. It was they're sort of showing the 3D environment that Mario could roam in. Now, this is a very interesting point that I'm going to make here, which is a lot of 2D games of that era struggled to work well in a 3D environment. Mario's biggest rival on the Sega hardware or Sonic the Hedgehog, you could always argue that the Mario games could work better in 3D than the Sonic the Hedgehog character could. And Sonic has always sort of flopped left and right because you have one good Sonic game in 3D and one that's average. And I think the only one that you could argue which was close to a really good like Sonic 3D game is Sonic Frontiers, is what we had. It took Sega that long to actually make a decent 3D Sonic game, but now it's just too little too late. So there's that aspect of it. Not just Sonic the Hedgehog, Earthworm Jim, an incredibly great 2D platformer, like, in the same sort of genre Mario and Sonic started in. But when you play Earthworm Jim 3D on Nintendo 64, you know what I'm talking about. It just doesn't work. Mario 64 was probably the only main character that can work really well in 3D. And I think Nintendo put a lot of care in making a really well-made 3D game for the Nintendo 64. The camera would follow him. You could make the jump. You had really good music. You had relatively decent graphics. The joy was still there in that virtual playground Shigeru Miyamoto made for his creation. And regardless of what you may think, there's very few people I know. Actually, there's only one person I know that doesn't really like the Nintendo 64, who we all know here anyway. But Mario 64 was definitely a standout performance for, Super Mario, and it worked really well. And then going forward, you got Mario Kart 64. You then had Mario Party as well. You had party games. So it's again venturing different sorts of. And also you had Super Smash Brothers, which was also on Nintendo 64 as well. So that was Mario venturing in another sort of genre. So the reason I think Mario is such a huge franchise, I mean, he's had over 200 games now, is because he has, not all of them are platformers. He's ventured in other genres as well. And they're all generally very good games. His RPG games are a lot of fun. The Paper Mario saga began on Mario 64. So not only has he got Mario RPG, which is his first RPG game, which was a combined effort between Nintendo and Squaresoft at the time. You've got Paper Mario, which is Nintendo doing their own thing on Nintendo 64. And then you have Mario and Luigi, which was his RPG game series that began on the Game Boy Advance, which was the successor system to the Game Boy Color and the original Game Boy handheld. And again, Mario had his own RPG series on that platform and the Nintendo DS going forward. And also you had Mario then moving from the N64 to the GameCube with Mario Sunshine, which again was a pack-in title. Well, not pack-in title. It was a release title for the GameCube. And it was heavily publicized. I'm sure everybody saw the adverts. I'm sure even you two gentlemen saw the adverts for this. This was just crazy. Everyone's like, Mario's back in Mario Sunshine. And like, oh, okay. And the graphics look really lovely. This one is probably the first Mario game that was probably seen as a disappointment to so many fans out there, because for whatever reason, I think a lot of people didn't get much joy out of this game as they did with 64 and how it played. But all in all, it's still generally a good game. And then, also you have the Wii and with Mario Galaxy with his other 3D adventures. And then, you've got Mario 3D World, 3D Land on the Nintendo DS, Nintendo 3DS and Mario Kart DS, and Super Mario 64 made an appearance on the DS. So again, they're repackaging old Nintendo software and reselling it and they did that with the Game Boy Advance, with the Mario Advance series, porting all the NES and the Super Nintendo games. So you have that, and of course you've got the new Super Mario Brothers series. So they reinvented Mario's 2D platformers, because a lot of people you can't beat a good Mario game, and I think they got the magic right again with new Super Mario Brothers. And I think his latest outing, because I know I've missed a lot of games. I've just mentioned the main ones that a lot of people remember. The main one being, I'll sponsor the DS Fat. I will sponsor the DS Fat because I love the DS Fat, because you had a good grip. And when I bought my DS Fat, it was the first release title on the DS was new Mario 64 DS, and that was the first way I played Mario 64. In fact, gentlemen, those of you looking to play Mario 64 and who have never played it, play the DS version. It's the best version of that game.
Yeah.
Once you played that, you'll never play the N64 version ever again. Nintendo did a really good job with that, picking it up. I'll tell you that. But sorry, going back to forward. Obviously, there've been the new Super Mario Bros. Series, got the Mario 3D World series as well, which was on the 3D when Mario 3D Land on the 3DS, which made him pop a bit. You had Mario Kart 7 on that. Again, Super Smash Brothers. He's had, you had Brawl. Well, you had Super Smash Brothers Super Smash Bros. Melee on the Cube. Yeah, on the Cube. Then you had Super Smash Brothers Brawl on the Wii. And then you had Super Smash Brothers Wii U on the Wii U, and obviously you got Super Smash Brothers Ultimate on the Switch now. So he's got his series there, and I say he's featured in that game. But I've noticed that they've made Mario weaker in every game for some reason. But that's something I've noticed. But his latest adventure is Mario Odyssey. That's the latest big one. Obviously, there's Mario Wonder, which is obviously his latest big one, you could argue. But Mario Odyssey is a AAA title. It came out on the Switch, and it is an amazing game. It's probably the best Mario game I've ever played. And I'm not even exaggerating here when I say just how good it is. It is actually the true successor to Mario 64, because a lot of people have said, well, Mario Galaxy was all right, and I like Mario Galaxy, but it wasn't a true 3D adventure, in my opinion. And Mario Sunshine, as good as it looked graphically at the time, the gameplay aspect of it just didn't have as much joy as 64. Mario Odyssey has the joy 64 has, and then so much more. So you have that. I think the next best Mario game after 64, if we're talking like 3D, is probably the 3D World Adventure, which is pretty fun as well for multiplayer. But if we're talking like a proper sort of single-player Mario experience, those of you who have Nintendo Switches who don't have Mario Odyssey or have not played Mario Odyssey, what are you waiting for? What are you doing? It's like probably the best, if not the second best game on the system. Still, in my opinion, I know there's a lot of people who have their favorites, which is RPGs and things like that. But as a general game that's accessible for young people, that's probably one of the best games on the system. It won the BAFTA award, the British Academy Film, whatever award it was called. So we won a BAFTA and it deserved the BAFTA. So there you go. And obviously, forgot Super Mario Maker. You have that, and a lot of people love that. If you want to create a Mario game, you have that, and that came out on the, I think it was that a 3DS launch. It was a 3DS game, and it came out on the Wii U, and now it's a Switch game. And also, you got Mario Mobile, Super Mario Run. We've got here playing on the Android. I think there's also a Mario Kart on Android as well. So even if you don't have a Nintendo system, and you live in it like my family originally come from India. And nobody can really afford Nintendo platforms. In fact, Nintendo don't really have much of a existence there. But there's a huge mobile market there, and again, they can get Mario games on mobile systems. So there you go. Yeah, super. So what's this? Mr. Rommel is saying Super Mario Run is for mobile, right? Yeah, it's a mobile game, so it's accessible for many. But I don't think it's a free game. I think you have to pay for it. So there you go. Oh, and yeah,
Nintendo being Nintendo.
Super Princess Peach. Someone said that Marlon's mentioned that there's a Super Princess Peach game on Nintendo DS. I almost forgot about that. So the spin-offs, I forgot about Luigi. Luigi's Mansion. That's a game. That's a thing, and he's got his own series. So Mario's brother is an accessory to his success as well, as is Princess Peach with Princess Peach Adventure. There's another Princess Peach game coming out on the Switch recently, actually. So you got that. And look, you got Mario 3D All-Star, so that's Nintendo re-releasing their old stuff. Although people might argue that the emulation isn't so great compared to the original, but all right, it is what it is. It allows you to play those old games again. So there you have it. That's Mario in a nutshell. It'll continue, strength to strength. I think, we're not going to see the end of Mario anytime soon. I think he's there, and he'll remain a force in the gaming world. He's the second highest franchise in terms of grossing sales for video games. So the first highest franchise for video games is Pokemon, and that's worth 90 billion to Nintendo. That's what it's grossed, all right? Mario's grossed over 30 billion, and he's in second place. So that's still a lot, and I think we've got much more to come with all the franchises that we've got here. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed listening to me waffle on about Super Mario and a brief history. I think that's basically what I have to say. Anyone got any comments to add to this? What about you two gentlemen? Anyone listening in the comment section?
So Sir Viraj came in strong with the history of Mario there.
I'm just doing it from memory. There's so much that I've left out, to be honest, because there's so many other obscure Mario games.
There are so many. There are so many.
Like, wait, you didn't mention this game. I remember this Mario game. I'm sure it's there. These are just the main staples of his series. And there are many, like I said, there's over 200 games this guy's featured in. I mean, I can't remember all of them at the top of my head. But, there were remakes, remasters, Super Mario Brothers Deluxe on the Game Boy Color. I could have named that. There's just so many games that have just come out with Mario and Wario and all these other spin-offs as well. But God, like this guy's a force. There's not a year you're not going to see a Mario. Look, Mario Strikers. I forgot to mention the soccer game that he has. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. That was a huge success. There were three games and they did really well.
It is still so surreal to me looking at Sonic with Mario. I mean,
and it was wrong, wasn't it? It was wrong.
So weird.
Well, Mario and Rayman Rabbids. Obviously, there's the Rabbids games with Mario, and there was that. I never really played any of those, to be honest. They looked a bit too weird for me. But yeah, there you go.
Wait until they make a new movie together. Possibly.
Well, I think that obviously they're going to try. I suspect Nintendo. I think obviously I forgot to mention his new movie. I did mention it briefly, but his new movie last year was a huge success. It's probably the highest-grossing video game movie of all time, with how much it grossed. It was a bit. Did it gross $1 billion? I can't remember. I think it did, didn't it?
Super Mario, the 2022, 23 Mario movie crossed $1 billion. Yes.
Yeah. It was the
one with Chris Pratt. Yeah, that crossed $1 billion.
That movie that we roasted last year. I remember.
1.3. Yeah, we did a discussion about that movie, but 1.3 billion. I mean, That is outstanding. I don't know if a video game movie's done over $1 billion yet. Not even the Sonic movies. Sonic movies did like 500 million or something, and that's still a mediocre. That's still quite successful. Sonic, but Mario, jeez, that's a lot of money. I think Nintendo are going to definitely continue working with. I think it was a company called Illumination or something, and
Well,
Universal. And
in their defense, the ones who wrote the script and the screenplay for the modern Mario movie, they really did their research and they really took respect to the source material because it's an it's a 3D animated movie. There's a lot more room to wiggle around in comparison to the live action
yeah,
that kind of removes you from the reality that they're supposed to be
yeah.
plumbers. They're also fighting all of
You know,
these anthropomorphic creatures. So how are you going to translate that into live action? At
that
least
was
in the 3D in 3D animation, y- uh, you can suspend you can suspend some disbelief in there because your brain. I mean, it takes you to that specific time of your childhood that these are the ones these are the characters that I grew up with. They
yeah.
look exactly what I'm supposed that I see them on the games in comparison with the 1992 movie.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they were so surreal and abstract, that 1992 movie. It was like a Dali painting, wasn't it, or one of those old obscure arts that you see, and it was just weird. But I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. The new Mario Brothers movie was much more true to the original source material. In fact, it's probably the most truest to source material video game movie there is, and they did an amazing job with the story. The actual voice acting cast. I mean, Chris Pratt, he gets away with it.
Yeah,
But the rest of
Star-Lord.
them, the rest of it gets the rest of them get away with it. I mean, they could have cast someone instead of Chris Pratt. To be honest, they could have cast anyone else. But anyway, I like the films. I thought they were it was very well done. I can see them. They're definitely going to make another one. That's a foregone conclusion. I also see them making maybe a cinematic universe in the same way Marvel did. I think obviously Zelda is out there. I think there's a Netflix show. I don't know.
Well, they already introduced Donkey Kong, so they can expand on that.
Yeah, so
Nintendoverse.
if you actually look at that film, it's an advert for the video games that they have. So they're advertising Donkey Kong, they're advertising Super Mario, they're advertising a little bit of Luigi's Mansion in that, and Mario Kart. And if you think about it, that movie was a poster for those video games. And one thing I did, because as you know, I buy and sell retro video games at gaming markets for my side business that I do. I made sure I acquired Mario. And Mario games typically always sell anyway. And I had them all on my table. And yeah, again, because of the movie, I saw little kids coming up there. Oh, have you got new Super Mario Brothers 2? Have you got Mario? Like, even the older Mario games, people are more fascinated with. So you're going to get, when a movie of a character like Mario comes out, it puts a lot of focus on him again. And people are going to think, oh, and parents will take their kids to see this film. The kids might have a Mario game, but then they're thinking, oh, let's have a look at other Mario games of past. And parents will think, okay, forget all this new stuff. You've already got an old, and it's easy for them to acquire Nintendo DS. There's over 140 million of those things sold, and getting the Mario games on that are cheap, to be honest. And new Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo DS, like, you can't go wrong with it. You can't go wrong with it, and it's easy, and it's for any parent to get that game for their kid. And there's just so many games out there that Mario has been featured in. So, again, Mario will continue to be successful. It just works because not only is you can always argue, okay, his image he's not as cool as Sonic the Hedgehog, because I was a Sonic the Hedgehog fan back in the 90s. But the games are of a qualitative order that have been consistent throughout his history. They've always been good, generally speaking, and they've always been fun. And that's the key word that Nintendo are about. Can we make a fun game? Can we enjoy it? And if you like platformers, he was actually the undisputed king of platformers for a long time. And it pains me to say that, being a Sonic fan, because I love the 2D Sonic games. They were faster and much more fun and challenging. I suppose maybe I'd like more of a challenge with my platforms than a lot of people, but not to say that Mario games were not challenging. I mean, the first Super Mario Brothers was quite difficult for many people to get around. But I think Mario games have gotten easier as time has gone on. But there's always that challenge that you have with them, and Mario Odyssey has a nice little balance there when it comes to challenges. And there are obscure levels in there that are quite hard, and there for you as a challenge with Mario Odyssey. And the same with Mario 3D World, which I remember had some very tough levels towards the end of the game. So I'm not going to say Mario is an easy game. I mean, it generally is, but there are some challenges put in there. And I think it's just accessible to so many people now. I think the way Nintendo have done it, and I think you two have observed this, they've made it for the family. So when you see the Mario 3D World and games like that, where you see 4 people playing at once, or New Super Mario Brothers, you see 4 people on the screen at once. So Nintendo design a game for the family. So they win by you buying the game for your family, but they also win by you being forced to buy 4 controllers, be them Wiimotes or controllers. So they're getting more money for you playing this for one game. You're spending money on controllers and the game, and that's where Nintendo win. They make money on the controllers and they make money on the game, and that's what Nintendo have done with Mario. Mario Kart is another one, 4-player split screen at home. You know, one thing I'll say Nintendo are geniuses at is they can create a video game experience in the home with the like multiplayer environment where you don't have to play online. You can have friends over and have a party playing these games, and it's not just Mario. There's other games as well, like Wii Sports and I mean, my mind's gone a bit blank here, but there's so many multiplayer games out there that have started to innovate on. But Mario Brothers and Mario Kart are definitely, and Smash Brothers is another one. Are definitely multiplayer games that you can enjoy at home with your friends. And Mario Party, that's another one. So you can, there's so many games that they're out that they have out there, and they can win Mario and make a cash cow out of him, and that's what they've done. And they'll continue to do so as long as the games are there. So there you go. I do want to see a Mario Odyssey 2. That's like the next Mario game I'd love to see, because I really love Super Mario Odyssey. Again, I want to emphasize, those of you listening or those of you watching this video, if you haven't played Super Mario Odyssey yet and you have a Nintendo Switch, play that game, because it's the best 3D Mario experience you will get.
Yes. In other words, get it.
Get it and play it. Like, what about you two gents? Have you played it?
All right. Before we go to Sir JDM, who do we got down there at the chat? Let's just give a few shout outs to them.
Yes. Earlier we have Sir Roman Bencilio. He said that Paper Mario, he's been playing it with his wife's niece. I'm not sure which Paper Mario he was referring to, but I think it's maybe on.
How many Paper Mario games are there? 3? The original one.
Yeah, you got 1,000 Year Door. There might be 4.
That's the first one.
There might be 5.
Right.
There's one on the 3DS as well. I remember there was one. It was like Paper Mario
Jam.
Paper Jam Brothers or something silly like that.
All right.
I can't remember.
Who else do we got for JDM?
Yeah, so we also have Ray Q said good evening or good morning, or Sir Viraj, and we also have Marlon Hurtado Escobides, who's been dropping a lot of some trivia here on the chat. He said that they have continue code for SMB1 that they didn't know via A and start during the title screen, when the game over screen appears, and the famous infinite one-up trick to what's this, to the next SMB games to do this trick. I'm not really familiar with this one. I think this is as bizarre as the one that was mentioned regarding the duck hunt code that you need to like short 2 pins. And we also got Neil Chills on Twitch. Hello. I think that's all for now. And we also have Baruna Royka on Twitch as well. Welcome to the show.
So
one of our regular viewers.
There's 7 Paper Mario games.
7.
8 if you can't read it. Yeah, there's 7. I've looked it up. So basically, there we go. We've got Paper Mario that started off in 2000. All right. So you have that. That was a Nintendo 64 game. It was obviously the first Paper Mario game. Then you had Paper Mario, the 1,000 Year Door on the Cube. Okay. And then you had Paper Mario. I think that was on the Wii. Okay. That was in 2007. Then you had Paper Mario Sticker Star. Okay. And that was on the 3DS. Okay. Then you had Mario and Luigi Paper Jam Bros. So obviously they blended Mario and Luigi RPG with the Paper Mario series in 2015, and that was on the 3DS as well. And then you had Paper Mario Color Splash, okay, and that was on the Wii U, my baby, but I never got that game. And then we had Paper Mario the Origami King, which was obviously the Nintendo Switch outing. And now they've obviously made a remake of Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door. So that's an enhanced port, I'm guessing, that they've done recently in 2024. So I don't know if that's out. So that I think that's coming out soon. Is it coming out soon? I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, that will come out again. That'll come out again. I think that's just a re-release they're doing on that. So 7, if we're talking in the Paper Mario games, I mean, goodness me, they just play. That's again. There's 7 paper. So you're like, okay, there's Mario platformer games. You got Mario RPG games, and Paper Mario is just one of the Mario RPG series. Also, you then have Mario and Luigi, and you got that series. So you have Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga on the Game Boy Advance. Then you had Mario and Luigi Partners in Time on the Nintendo DS. Then you had Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story on the Nintendo DS, and then you had Dream Team Brothers. I think that was the 4th one, and then you had a 5th one, but I forgot what it was called. I think there's about 5 Mario and Luigi games, and they were also ported. They actually enhanced the original Mario and Luigi and launched that on 3DS, and also enhanced, I think, Bowser's Inside Story on the 3DS as well. So they've even ported Mario and Luigi games and then remakes of them on another handheld. That's how much time has gone on. So goodness me, it's a lot of Mario there. And in terms of the RPG aspect, there's a lot of Mario RPG games that they've put out. It's ridiculous how much Nintendo Mario content there is there. How can you keep up with it? Raymond, he's got a question. As part of the year's Mario's release, why is it gamers still love the Mario series? Goodness, I mean, I think Raymond, at the very core, it's the accessibility of Super Mario games at the very foundation level. If you're a young person, you got a young child. I know you got a young kid, Raymond. You got a young kid as well, Sir Joe. That kid, the first game, the easiest game for them to play as a platformer, what are you going to get them? A good Super Mario game, right? And he's a lovely little fat plumber, so she'll play that. Your children will play that, and then as they get older, they're familiar with the character, and then they might want to play a Mario sports game or Mario Kart. Let's have Mario and his buddies have a racing game, and then as they get even older into their teenage years, they can actually play the Mario RPGs. That's a much deeper story with Mario games. So, and then they can always return to the obviously the Mario 3D platformers and things like that. So you have a lot more depth with it. And I think that's probably the reason, Raymond. You have a character that's just easy to access, and it's a family-friendly character. So with young people, with me, I was a Super Nintendo. I was actually more Sega, but I had a Super Nintendo too. With me being a young person, I was familiar with the character because Mario came with the console. There's a pack-in title. And that's the same with people who owned a NES. It was a pack-in title. They're familiar with that character. They fell in love with that character. It was their first sort of earlier gaming experience. They know who Mario is. And they want to think, okay, if I go to a game shop, I'm like, well, what am I going to play? Am I going to play this obscure game that I don't know about? Or am I going to stay comfortable and stick with that Mario game that I'm familiar with? And say if you only have limited pocket money, you're going to go with what you know, right? And you love Mario. Let's have a look at his other adventure. That's the reason, and that's why Mario will always win. And that's why, in many respects, Sonic has won, and in his realm, and other gaming franchises. If you have an early experience with these sort of early platforming heroes or these series, you're going to be, well, I want a bit more of that. Role-playing games, Final Fantasy, you want to sort of, what are they doing with the next series? Or, developers like Atlas, they create really, intense, involving RPGs. You want to have a bit more of that. So if you're familiar with a developer or a game series that you like, you want to have a bit more of it. So again, with Mario, I think the reason he's done well is the accessibility and the fact that Nintendo has diversified their mascot into other genres as well. So not only you just buy Mario platformer games, you play Mario RPGs, sports games, and educational software. He's everywhere. You can't escape him. You cannot escape him. He's even on your Android phones. He's there. You cannot go. I mean, he's bigger than. You could argue Mario is bigger than Mickey Mouse. You could argue that he's bigger than so many things now. He's just that big. Like everyone knows who Super Mario is. Everybody knows. Well, now the movie's out. Everybody knew. Everyone knows who he is. So I think that's the comprehensive answer to your question, Raymond.
How about Sir JDM? How would you answer Sir Raymond's question there?
Um, um, just what like Viraj said earlier. It's the platformer mechanics of the Super Mario games is a proven and tested formula. So you can run, jump on enemies, defeat them. You can get power ups. And every time there's a Mario platformer game that's coming out on different systems, they add this one particular power up or an additional move um, that's unique from the previous Super Mario game. So these gamers, these not hardcore or the ones who have played the earlier Super Mario games are now familiar with the platformer mechanics of the game. Then they discover, oh, there's a new power up or there's a new move that they can use, like a dive or something like that, and
Mm.
it adds to the like the innovation and a new challenge for the new and succeeding games that were released. So you people can really get hooked up to the Mario series, and of course Mario's a lovable character.
Mm.
All right. Thank you for that, Sir JDM. If I'm going to answer Sir Raymond's question, I'm just going to piggyback on what Sir Viraj and Sir what JDM mentioned. With Mario, I'm not really much of a Mario player. Uh, for the record, if there's anything, the my Mario knowledge only stretches out up until the Super Nintendo. That's it. Okay. But that being said, the way I see Mario, the Mario game franchise anyway, is consistency and innovation. Consistency, why? This was let's keep in mind that when Mario was first released, even or in this case was more popularized anyway, especially in North America. The video game crash happened in 1983. 2 years after, nothing much was going on in terms of entertainment for the kids growing up. And then when the NES came out, what's the first game that they saw? Super Mario, yeah.
Mm.
And same thing happened for us here in Asia when the Famicom hit. What's the first game that we had? Super Mario
Mm.
Brothers. And I cannot speak for the European guys. So, Sir Viraj,
It,
well, when the NES hit, what was the first game that you guys saw?
we got a Sega Master System played something. No, I'm kidding.
Um,
I think no Mario when the NES hit in Europe, it was still very popular as a game, and the NES was a popular platform here. Let's make no mistake. But the Master System, people here obviously looked at the Master System as being slightly better, but it's not like the Master System like vastly outsold the NES, but it did slightly better. And then the Mega Drive came along and it increased Sega's share so much. And the actual Super Nintendo had a very late release here in Europe, 1992.
so,
Nintendo came out.
so
So
for so
that's
the
to
majority of the gaming world back in the late '80s,
yeah.
namely in the US and Asia,
Mhm.
I mean, with all due respect to the PAL regions,
Yeah,
right?
but we had late releases. That's why Nintendo were just late and they marketed the NES badly in Europe. It was as well marketed because Mattel did the marketing and then Nintendo pulled the plug. We actually
Right.
have a Mattel version NES and then we had the original NES that had a re-release in '87. And by then the Master System had come out, and that was really. And if you look at the graphics of Master System and NES, it's a world apart. In fact, the difference between graphics from the Master System and NES is bigger than the difference between a SNES and a Mega Drive. That's how much of a gap it is, and
Yeah,
people see that. So
and
at that point, Nintendo were
for
in party. But I think it's not to say Mario wasn't popular; he was popular, and the Game Boy
yeah,
was really big. The Game Boy was popular everywhere. It even beat the Game Gear in every region. That's the truth. Let's be honest. So Mario was big on the handheld platform, so everyone knew about him then. He was still popular. It's not to say he wasn't unpopular. Um, it's just Nintendo just weren't as big here anywhere else. because Sega's presence was more dominant for the 8-bit and the 16-bit era for sure in Europe, and that's just to do with just better marketing. I'm just looking at the comment section here, where I think his name's what's it, Baron Oroika. Sorry, forgive me if I'm butchering your name on Twitch.
Baruna Roika.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier, I'm just looking at this because he's obviously given reasons. I've got the Mario collection in 3DS. He's found it pretty straightforward. He's always enjoyed it. So again, accessibility. Then he's talking about obviously the platform game. And he says, because it's cheap in 2D in secondhand market. These older Mario games, which like New Super Mario was sold in the buckets, they're cheap. You think they're quite affordable games on secondhand, in good condition. So you have that. And again, co-op party feature. Raymond's trying to gaslight me by saying Mario is better than Sonic all day. But then you have, there's loads of people that like say, I love Mario, but my bias are Yoshi and Luigi and Poochie. I'm guessing. Well, I'm guessing he means Peach. I don't know.
And
Super Mario.
should be. And besides, let's not forget. During the time of the late '80s and the early '90s, if I would bet that the cartridge, the Super Mario Brothers 1 cartridge, would be the only cartridge that you're only gonna get.
Yeah,
for the whole year or 2 years. That's the only game that you're gonna be playing, right? Because your parents can't really afford to buy you a new game, maybe on your birthday or Christmas, right? So it's just that the the kids back in the day, anyway, because the Super Mario is the only thing that's only going on that they can only play. So it adds to the nostalgia as they grew up.
Yeah,
you got your Super Mario you got when Super Mario Brothers 2 hit. Okay, say what you will about that game, and then Super Mario Brothers 3 blew everything out of the water, and then the Super Nintendo hit. So so the kids grew up along with Mario, but in Shigeru Miyamoto's credit here, he's the developer, the father of Mario. He didn't want to stagnate the Mario franchise as it is. For every iteration of the console that Nintendo's gonna dish out, there's always something different. There's always something. There's always a gimmick. If Mario needs to change from 2D to the 3D, sure, he'll make it fun. He'll make it entertaining. But at the same time, you're the inner child that you used to remember as Mario from the early '80s, from the mid '80s, the early '90s. It's still there. So when I say it's consistency, yes, because correct me if I'm wrong, Mario's the only gaming character that I know who was there from the very beginning. Well, since the after the crash, anyway, from '85 up until now. He's always there. Say what you will about Nintendo.
For our age bracket, we're all millennials here. I was born in '85, so I'm the same age as Mario. So whenever I see Super Mario Brothers 30th, I think, God, that's old. God, I'm old. When I saw this when it was back in 2015, this came out. So whenever it's Mario's birthday, it's my birthday. I'm thinking I'm as old as this guy. Good Lord, so it makes me wonder sometimes, that much time has passed. He's 38 years old today. So he's been there for our generation, millennials, who grew up with the 8-bit, 16-bit era predominantly, when Mario was really starting to shine. He's followed us, and now we're that generation that are in these sort of, we're earning the money now. We've acquired wealth, we're starting to get money, etc. What we're going to remember, we grew up with this character. So when video games started to explode in the 90s, and that's really when this market took off, and Nintendo capitalized on it, we'll always remember this. And Nintendo was smart enough to sort of keep this guy relevant and keep him in our minds. And a lot of it's sentiment. A lot of people, whenever I come to my table, I'm sending games, oh, Mario, and they get excited. Like, oh, I remember that game. I remember that game when I'm sending the older stuff.
Oh, make no mistake, the console wars of the 90s also played a part in this.
It did. I think another issue is obviously because Sega was shouting Sonic, so Nintendo had to shout louder with Mario. And I think you can say, okay, Mario's better than Sonic hands down. But I would argue that if it were for characters like Sega shoving their mascot in Nintendo's face, Nintendo really were under pressure to improve the quality of their games to outdo Sonic the Hedgehog. I would argue that Mario wouldn't be as good as he is today if it weren't for the competition, if it weren't for characters like Sonic the Hedgehog, or even on PlayStation, rival platforms like Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, because I'll be honest with you, Spyro the Dragon is actually a better game than Super Mario 64 if you've actually played it. And then obviously Nintendo realized, okay, this is the competition. We need to up them as well. So I think Nintendo were always at a position of advantage of being the first, but they didn't just sit on their laurels. They realized, okay, we could lose this if we don't keep making our mascot bigger. And credit to them, like they continued making their mascot better, and they diversified him in different genres as well, and they put him everywhere. So, a very good mascot for Nintendo, and he is when you think of video games, what do you think of? Nintendo's mascot typically. It's usually Sonic or Mario. If you look at it that way, and he's there, and more Pokemon. These days. So I would say that you win. You always win with Mario. You're always going to win. And parents, when they look at my table and they see that, they think of their nostalgia. So they're our age now. They got the kids. They bring them to my table, and the kids are looking at the games, and they feel safe. They say, I want the Mario game, and they pick it up. And I think one kid was upset because I didn't have a certain Mario game in stock, so I just gave him another one. And they were happy with it because it's Super Mario, the movie's out, and they were happy with that. So there you go. I just think that he's just going to win. It's just the brand, the way the game is, the parents have an influence on them. So not only do we have the money to buy the games for our kids now, if you've got kids, you also have that influence that you'll get your kids something. I'll give you an example. There's a kid who lives 3 doors down from where I live, a kid called Ethan, and he has a Nintendo Switch, and he loves Mario. He loves it. And, he wants to play all the older Mario games now. And the reason he loves it is because his father got him a Nintendo Switch, and and it has a Mario game on it. And I think it was Mario 3D World he had. I said, have you played Mario Odyssey? And I lent it to him. And he just loves it even more and more. And if you get more of the same, and you're going to have more positive experiences with the same, and this is it, consistency, as you said, you're always going to win, and it's going to find a special place in your heart. And that's sentiment, with all of us here. That's sentiments with people in the comment section, and that's why Mario will continue to be galvanized as being the number one dude in video gaming today.
All right. So how about we go to some of the games, the memorable games in our repertoire. Let's start with Sir JDM. So Sir JDM, regarding with the Mario franchise, what are the games that struck to you the most?
Okay, so for me, it's going to be Super Mario Land for the Game Boy, which Sir Dan was taunting me. How was I able to see it without the backlight or the with the small screen? Because back then I had 20/20 vision, and it just appealed to me because you can actually play a Super Mario game portable. You can even play it in the supermarket when your mom take you to the supermarket and you have nothing to do, or when you're driving back home, you can actually play a Super Mario game. And this one appealed to me as well because of the new enemies that you can see. You can still
You
see
can
those
see,
good
you
old.
can or cannot see.
I played this on the Game Boy Color, you see, and obviously it's not like that. It looks different. It actually has some sort of slight color
I don't
mood put
like.
in there. You see it with that, and I had a little Spyro light that I attached on my
Yeah.
Game Boy Color, so I could play it
Ah,
that way. And again, like there's other ways. You can even play it on your Game Boy Advance SP, and that's got a backlight. And that's an interesting way of playing this game. So there are other ways to play it now where you don't have to worry about a backlight. Nintendo Switch Online, is now the other way to play it, and you've got obviously the nicer looking graphics, etc. So, and there's also actually a remake of this. Somebody made a fan remake for the Super Nintendo called New Super Mario Land. On the
that
Super.
I haven't seen yet.
That's actually,
But
but again, this is a great game. Good choice.
yeah. And I first played it using the Game Boy that was transparent, and
Was it a
I
DMG Game Boy, like the original Game Boy, or was it a
yeah.
color? Or the original DMG Game Boy, but the transparent one.
Yes, the DMG, the
Yeah.
transparent one.
Oh,
And you can still see the Goombas, then
yeah.
what they call this, the Koopas, but
Yeah.
they're different from the ones that we saw from the NES version. This one, the turtles explode. It's
Yep.
like they have a bomb on their backs. I remember playing it firsthand back then.
And when you get
When yeah,
when you get the boiler suit, it collects coins when you throw a fireball. It also
yes,
collects coins for you as well. So the
that one too.
little quirk.
And the turtle, I won't forget it because I stepped on it. I stepped on it. Then I thought
Mm,
nothing will happen. That
yeah.
you can just throw it away to hit some other enemies. Then suddenly it exploded. Like I was like, what the heck? It's like
Yeah.
an so this is where the innovation comes in.
Yeah. It's something different.
What? Yeah, there's a different challenge every time there's a new Mario game. So this one is one of my favorite Mario games, and also for nostalgia because I've been playing this with my cousins. Every time someone when we when Mario dies, we just pass the Game Boy to each other, and then we try to finish it until one of my cousins actually was able to reach the final boss stage, but they were not able to finish it. They just passed the Game Boy back to me, and we finish it
That's really good.
like a pro.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite uh, Super Mario games in the series, and the other one is going to be the new Super Mario uh, for the DS.
The first one. The
Yeah,
first
yeah, the
New Super
first
Mario
one.
Brothers when it came out. Yeah. Why that one? Is it just the way it played? Is it the graphics? Is it the music? I mean, I suppose all three of them are just really good aspects of it. And
Yeah.
I love the game too because I have that as well. And I actually think it's better than the sequel, New Super Mario Brothers 2 on the
Mm.
3DS. I found that too easy. The first one is a perfect challenge.
What is this?
It looks beautiful. We're talking about New Super Mario Brothers on the Nintendo DS.
Oh,
On
for the
the
DS. Oh.
Yes.
yes.
Um, so I
It's
remember.
because of the
There we go. 2006
because
Nintendo.
yes,
So not
because
by any
there
means
were yeah.
title. They actually took their time developing this when the DS came out. Because I remember when I bought my Nintendo DS, Mario 64 DS was the Mario title. So it was just a port, but it was a very well made port. And this was teased when the Nintendo DS was coming out as an upcoming game. And it took them 2 years. But when it came out, God, like it was amazing. Like all the power ups that Mario has. He's got the little shell here. You got one where he gets really big and just tramples all over the level, and that was so fun. And the level design on this is outstanding. So they took their time with it, but they made a quality little platformer with this game. And obviously, they made New Super Mario Brothers on the Wii, and they made what's it, New Super Mario Brothers on the Wii U as well. There's a Wii U edition as well, which is very good actually. I thought that could actually compete with Super Mario Brothers on the or Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. So I think what's it, New Super Mario Brothers U on the Wii U is an underrated Mario game. It's one that you should all play because I think a lot of people haven't played that one, to be honest, and I think it's really good actually. So if you want a good Wii U, obviously they ported it on the Switch as well. So
Oh,
they
that one.
yeah, New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe. That's what it's called on the Switch. So obviously, if you've got a Switch, play it that way. On the Wii U, it's there as well. So I just want to throw that there. But yeah, New Super Mario Brothers on the DS, the first one, that is an outstanding game.
They call it new, but for me, it's a classic Super Mario game, right?
It's a
Because
classic. Now.
yeah, and
2006, what, 14 years ago? 15? No, it's 17 years ago. 2006.
yes,
Goodness me.
And you remember when they released Super Mario 64, then Super Mario Sunshine, those were the
Mm,
3D games. Then suddenly they brought back this one, this
mm,
2D platformer, 2.5D. Was it? This is
mm.
this 2.5D.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Then everybody was nostalgic about it. They remember their very first encounter with the Super Mario game on the NES. No wonder this game sold quite well for the DS. And
Yeah,
also it's portable. I
yeah.
think
You can
I
take
have
it
a
anywhere.
I think I have a pattern here because I love the portable Super Mario games
You
because
know,
these are the games that you can actually play to pass the time, right?
I actually really like the overworld theme in this one. It's such a
Mm.
trippy little tune there that gets stuck in your head, you know, and you can hear
And
it was just a very well designed tune, I thought. So the
mm.
music in this game I really love too. I think they,
And do you notice when the Goombas are jumping whenever they hit some notes?
yeah, no, they go, yeah,
The
it's
beat, yeah.
the little, it goes,
They-
when it goes, bop, 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 you know, that little bit, and they jump at every point where
yes.
it's
And
entered.
if you're not used to that, you are most certainly gonna die because they jump in just
Yeah,
in
they
time you
quite
get
high
into them when you
actually.
try to hit them. So that's one of my favorite Super Mario games for me.
Oh,
So I think that would be it for me. And how about
oh, so Joe's gone for
Sergio?
he's gone for a walk, but I guess I could fill in. I mean, the ones you have
Oh,
mentioned are very good portable Mario games actually, and I like them. But let's have a look at the comments section here. What we got? We got Mr. What's it? Baronoy Royker. He's saying that we have an event in office last year. I bought my Switch as the game of our team's smooth and game shown is Super Mario Brothers using my Switch online sub. They need to reach a certain level in order to blah, blah, blah. Okay, workmates familiar with it. So yeah, basically you had an event at work where you're playing the Super Mario Brothers game. Brilliant, fun. Um, so there we go. I mean, um, my favorite Mario games. I mean, which I'll do my top five. I don't know if I could really do a top five, but I'll probably say that my favorite Mario game of all time is actually the newest one. Well, the first Switch one, which is Super Mario Brothers Super Mario Odyssey, basically.
hmm.
Um, I think that's just an amazing game you can just get lost in, and it's just so much fun. It's just such a well engineered and crafted game with so much love, and the music is great. The graphics are great. I mean, it's a full HD platform to Switch when you put it up there. But what I will say is, when that game came out, I just bought my first OLED TV, my OLED TV here, and I was literally moving home as well. I was leaving my parents' home where I had bought a full HD Sony 55-inch full LED backlit TV, and my grandma wouldn't let me have my old TV. She goes, "No, this is staying in this house. You're gonna have to buy your own TV." So I bought my own TV here. But there was obviously a 10-year gap between the technology between one TV and another. So I've got a full HD TV and I've got a 4K OLED here, and I've also got a Nintendo Switch game that's a HD game. But the first thing I tested in terms of comparing the image quality was that feed, and Mario Odyssey was the game. And one thing I noticed is just how much attention to detail Mario Odyssey has when you put it onto the 4K OLED. So Mario's outfit, okay, you see a lot more vivid colors on the old HD sets. Okay, you see it, and it looks really good. When I put it on my new Sony OLED TV, you could see the stitching in his outfit and the fibers of it. And so it wasn't so much 4K wasn't so much about the resolution, it was the OLED picture quality and the definition that you got out of those colors. And even though it's a full HD system, it looked amazing on my new OLED TV. So the technology just pushed the Nintendo Switch graphics. And this is the thing that annoys me. I bet you that game could look so much better in 4K if Nintendo Switch was a bit more better. But
So you can see the hemlines on Mario's suit
yes,
jumpsuit.
yes, you
Mm.
can. You can see it
How
on a
about if I'm
Switch.
going to
Come
ask,
on, let's just say 15.
can you see the
Okay.
hemline on Peach's dress though?
Well, I didn't look too
How
much at
how much can you
that
see
wedding dress.
with the OLED screen?
I didn't really. I couldn't compare it to the original because I played the game on the 4K TV fully. But what I could see with her wedding dress was, the little frills around it. It's a spoiler here, but Bowser's trying to sort of steal Peach to force her into a marriage in this game. But you see some really good detail on her wedding dress, so it's actually very well done. In terms of the attention to detail in Mario Odyssey, it's probably the most graphically beautiful Mario game I've played, and it's functional and it works brilliantly, and I just love it. I have to be honest, I really love Mario Odyssey. It's probably the
Super
best
Mario
Mario.
Odyssey.
Give it a go. Honestly, I know you guys haven't played it, but just play this game. It's the best Mario game out there. That's my first one. Okay. The second one, my second favorite Mario game, is probably the one that I really fell in love with and connected with back in the 90s on the Super Nintendo. That's Super Mario World. I really love that game. I think a lot of people listening may think, oh, yeah, you know what? Viraj is right. Super Mario World is probably one of the best 2D adventures that he's had. If you look at all the detail and content and attention to detail in that world map, you've got all the little secret switch palaces. You have a lot of detail in this game, So I will always say this is, probably the quintessential Mario game you should play. And it's a 16-bit platform, and you could enjoy it. There's a lot of attention to detail here, a huge world to explore, a beautiful game, and this is a must Mario game. You have to play this game, and it's definitely a good introductory Mario game for young children, I would say. They'll have a lot of fun with Mario World. So there's that one. Another one that I actually forgot to mention was Super Mario Brothers. Well, it's called Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, where you play as Yoshi trying to sort of rescue baby Mario. I forgot to mention that earlier. That's a really cool
Always
Mario.
leave the baby, annoying baby.
Baby Mario. That was a fun game too, but I wouldn't say that's like, even though it innovated on Mario World. For me, Yoshi's Island, even though it also used the Super FX technology and it pushed Nintendo's special effects, and I say it's a pretty cool game for what it is. But I wouldn't say it's in my top 5. So I know we're just showing it now, but it's not in my top 5. I'd say it's a very good Mario game. I first played this not on the Super Nintendo, on the Game Boy Advance, because it came part of the new Super Mario Advance series. There's new Super Mario Advance 3, Yoshi's Island, and you can play it on the GBA. So I played that version of this game, which is the same game fundamentally. Obviously, it's not. Obviously, the Super Nintendo version has probably got deeper colors, but that's basically the only real difference between the two. But I enjoyed this game, but I wouldn't say it's in my top 5 Mario games. I think after Super Mario World, it is probably going to be Mario 64 on the DS. And I'm not talking about the N64 port. I'm talking about the Nintendo DS port. And the reason I love that game is because the first thing I ever bought on the internet back in 2004, because I was very skeptical of buying things online, was a Nintendo DS. I imported it from America because the Americans got it first. And Mario Brothers DS is one of the first games I actually bought online, actually, with that. And when I bought this game, and this is obviously the DS version. Obviously, you got so many options. You can play as different characters. You can play as Wario in this. You unlock characters and stuff. And the graphics actually look a lot more palatable. Like the N64, I know I might cause some issues here. Some people will be like, the N64 game is the original. How can you prefer the DS one? The graphics on the N64 just look so blocky. Whereas, as you can see, the Mario character design here on the DS, it actually looks much more nicely rendered in 3D. Also, another thing I liked as well is the control on this thing. You can use the touchscreen as well if you want, but also you have the ability to quickly adjust the camera by pressing the L and R buttons, much easier than the with the N64 with the little CD pads and stuff. So it's actually a much more accessible game to play on the Nintendo DS hardware. And when they were porting this on the Switch, it disappointed me that they just went with porting the original when they should have really ported the original with this kind of graphics. They didn't update the graphics, which was disappointing with Mario 3D All-Stars. So this game is probably my third favorite Mario game of all time. So it's definitely there. And I really do love Mario 64 and how it plays. And it's that 3D environment, that fun that it brings you. And I think it was the first sort of Mario game that you could just, really enjoy thoroughly, in terms of exploration, and that's where you win with Mario 64. But you have all these elements in Mario Odyssey, but it wasn't for Mario 64, we'd have no Mario Odyssey. So there you go. So that's my first three. My fourth favorite Mario game is Mario 3D World, and that's on the Wii U. Obviously, there's a Switch edition called Mario 3D World with Bowser's Fury. And that's also the best version to play because you've got the Bowser's Fury game in there as well, which is a short little 3D adventure with Mario, but still a lot of fun. It's the one where Mario transforms as a cat. And it's kind of like a 3D sort of isometric sort of adventure, but it's on a smaller scale than Mario Odyssey. But it's a lot of fun, this game. And what I like about this game is, even though my father just can't be bothered, I played it with my father, and it's a lot of fun on multiplayer. So we had some fun with this game. It's a lot of fun, especially for the family. So this is my fourth favorite Mario game because, again, very nice polished graphics. Again, innovative gameplay with the cat suit. And it is just a hell of a lot of fun. I have to say that. So whether you want to play it on the Wii U or the Switch, it makes no difference. I think the Switch one probably does have deeper colors because the NVIDIA graphics chip in the Switch has better, has more color depth than the AMD chipset the Wii U had. But obviously, you had the touchpad on the Wii U version that made it nice to have, like, just click on the map screen and click on the level. It's easier to get Mario around on the map screen. That's basically it. But again, a really, really fun Mario game on the Wii U and the Switch. Now, my fifth favorite is going to be basically, it's the handheld sort of version of this, shall we say. It's called Mario 3D Land. Okay, and that was on the Nintendo 3DS. And I love this game because in my opinion, it's a perfect 3D platformer on the 3DS because of one. I know I can't. For those of you who have a 3DS, you should have this game in your repertoire. You should have it. Now, first of all, you can see it looks beautiful anyway. And whilst it looks choppy in this video that we're showing here, he's very easy to control. He's easy to control if you put the 3D mode on. And I know a lot of parents might be a bit iffy about the 3D on the 3DS, and I get it. But I promise you, it doesn't matter which version of 3DS you have, whether it's the new 3DS, which actually is probably a much more safer experience for 3D, or the original 3DS, the 3D will not pull on your eyes. Okay, it will not strain your eyes because it was done very well and it was engineered perfectly for this game. And because you got that 3D depth, you have that extra definition, and you can actually see, and it's much, much more easier for Mario to make that jump. You know where he's going to make that jump because you can see that 3D environment, because you see that depth of field from the 3D effect that the 3DS offers you. And there's also two ways you can do it. You can have the 3D pop out to you, and it also gives you the option to have the 3D depth to go within the screen. So you can do through the looking glass. That's what I call it in terms of that 3D effect. So if you don't want to pull in your eyes, you can do that, or you can have pop out 3D. So you've got two options in how the 3D should look with this game. So the graphics look outstanding in the 3D. You have a lot of innovative gameplay here. Again, it's probably, in my opinion, I know Sir JDM loved, New Super Mario Bros. On the DS, and he loved Super Mario Land on the Game Boy originally. But this, in my opinion, is the best 3D dedicated handheld game, and my fifth favorite Mario game that I've played to date. So, it is tough making this list, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It's whatever you've played. Yeah. And I've played a lot of Mario games, to be honest. More modern Mario games than the older ones. The NES Mario games, I found them to be not as accessible for obvious reasons. They're just graphically inferior to what we have now, and they weren't, for me, as fun to play as the 16-bit outing, and obviously the 3D games that we've got now. And there you go. But it's not to say I don't enjoy a good 2D Mario game. It's just that.
Hang on. So in this game, you are skywalking?
Yeah. So no, he's not skywalking. So he's obviously he can glide. So he can actually sort of float.
Is that the right term for that? You're skywalking.
he will descend. Just for a short time he's up there, but he will have to drop. So yeah, you have that, and he goes up and he just flies down because it's like a raccoon suit, shall we say? And he goes down like that. So, but yeah, you got this game, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
I think that's the suit from the third Super Mario Brothers game.
Yeah,
Is it the same or
Tanuki suit in it, raccoon suit or Tanuki suit, whatever it's called. So, so yeah, a lot of fun with this game as well. Again, a thoroughly good handled experience. Again, there's nothing wrong if you prefer New Super Mario Brothers, because some people prefer the 2D over the 3D. But I think this 3D attempt was actually done really well, and there's a lot more effort that's put into the game. And because you got 3D, you got another dimension of playing a game. You got more fun on playing on a 3D film than a 2D one, because Mario actually does work well in 3D. And the 2D Mario games have, in my opinion, don't have the length that the 3D ones do. There's a lot more programming in these days that goes into the 3D, so you're getting more game, in my opinion. And the only 2D Mario game that I really said was outstanding is Super Mario World, because that is actually quite a big game for what it is. There's a lot of detail, like I said. So yeah, they're my top 5 Mario games. There you go in a nutshell. So I hope you enjoyed listening to me in that regards to my top.
All right.
5. What about you, Sir Joe? I know you're going to pick like some of the RPGs.
No. Hang on to that. For Jaden, do you have other Super Mario games that you would like to add? I mean, Serverach did 5. You only did 2.
Yeah,
those are the only games that I had fun with.
Maybe
But if I could add one, it's
the ones that I've suggested. Give them a go, JDM, because I think you'll enjoy them.
I'm really interested to playing Odyssey.
Have you guys actually played the RPG Mario games? They're good. I played the Mario and Luigi.
What, the 7 stars?
So you got 7 stars, you got Paper Mario, and you got Mario and Luigi. So I've only ever beaten one Mario RPG game, and that was Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga on the Game Boy Advance, and that was a lot of fun. Like that would have made it to my top 5. But when I'm talking Mario games, I'm talking platforms. I'm not talking about all the other spin-off genres that he's been in. But Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, that is an amazing RPG for the Game Boy Advance. Or if you want to play that game, the 3DS remake is actually the best way to play it now. But yeah, that game is outstanding RPG that they made. Very good action RPG and a lot of fun. A lot of great dialogue, a lot of funny dialogue if you're a Mario fan and you're familiar with the lore of Mario. But again, lots of Paper Mario fans. Lots of fans of like the obscure other Mario games out there. And you can't go wrong with the RPG element, the more, shall we say, challenging aspects of Mario, which are much more technical. So I would strongly recommend you give those a go too if you have the time. But again, I think, gentlemen, the problem with the RPG aspects of the Mario games is we're quite adult now, we're grown up, and we like more of a challenge with RPGs. But I think for young people, if they're venturing into the RPG realm and their first RPG games, you might want to consider the Mario and Luigi games, or even the Super Nintendo. They've remade the Super Nintendo Mario RPG, haven't they, for the Switch? And that's a good way to introduce young people to role-playing games. That's actually a really good game as well. So there you go.
Okay. Play the Super Mario RPG game, not Chrono Trigger or something.
Chrono Trigger is an intermediary RPG, I'd say. I think Earthbound and the Mario, but Earthbound is a young person's RPG, as is the Mario RPG game. I think they're young, accessible, easy to play RPGs. I think when you're looking at like Chrono Trigger and Secret of Mana, that's intermediary, and Final Fantasy, that's intermediary as an RPG. Or if you want an introductory Final Fantasy game, Mystic Quest. I don't know if you remember that one. That was on the Super Nintendo. That's a beginner's Final Fantasy game. It's called Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, but it's not a Mario game, so it's not relevant here. But in the subject of early bird RPGs for young people to play, Mario RPG. I think it's called the 7 Stars or whatever it's called, Legend of the 7 Stars. I can't remember the full name of the game. So there's that Mario RPG game. And Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga on the Advance or the 3DS remake out there. But yeah, you can never get bored with a good Mario game. And of course, Mario Kart's a good family game to play for everyone. So, but I never counted those spin-off games. For me, when I'm talking Mario games, I'm talking platformers, and that's why I named the top 5. My top 5. So, Joe, everything all right on your end?
Oh, hang on. I'm just having some camera issues. But while I'm fixing that, Let's
What are your
just go
thoughts
to
on it?
yeah.
What's your favorite?
Before I do that, let's go with Sir Joel. So Sir Joel submitted his
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
a couple of Mario games because Sir Joel is unavailable to do the show for tonight, but he did submitted a testimonial of sorts. So
Yeah.
let's hear with Sir Joel
Let's
what he
see.
has to say about his Mario games.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are. This is Joel Buckley here on the Timeless Gamer Show. Greeting everybody. A happy Mario Day. March 10 is Mario Day, and we talk about the Mario games that we've loved all the way growing up from when we were kids all the way to today. I'm absolutely sure some of my compatriots here in the podcast already talked about their favorite Mario games like Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3, maybe even the original Mario Brothers on arcade and NES. And I'm willing to bet somebody's already talked about Mario on the Game Boy or even the Game Boy Advance. But as usual, I would like to talk about the Mario games from off the beaten path. There were a couple of Mario games that came out on Disk Operating System or DOS and PC, and we Filipinos were privy to the growth of PC way back when. We started off with PC XTs with the green and black monitors, and all the way to when PC started having colored displays. And there were CGAs, VGAs, and EGAs. But for today's episode, I'd like to talk about Mario Teaches Typing. Mario Teaches Typing is an educational program that came out on DOS systems way back when. I think it was around the early 80s, and it was done by a company called Interplay. Interplay, a very popular software making developer, a software developer company who got pretty popular way back in the day. But yes, more importantly, Mario Teaches Typing is the very first game, Mario software that I'd like to talk about. Mario Teaches Typing, as the name implies, is a program that teaches kids how to touch type using the keyboards on their computers. Way back during my time, we used to learn typing on actual typewriters. And when Mario Teaches Typing came along, it gamified how people learned how to type. Sure, there was Mavis Beacon typing and everything like that, but Mario Teaches Typing was the one to play if you really wanted to have fun while you were typing. So it taught kids how to place their fingers on the keyboard, and you got to choose your characters. So it was Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and you controlled that character as he moved from left to right, and you press the keys properly, and Mario would be able to jump and hit the blocks on that float above him, or hit the Goombas that are coming towards him, jump up on them, and then knock them out. So if the block had the letter A on it, it showed a little indicator on the screen that you had to use your pinky finger to touch the A button, and Mario would jump if you typed that properly. Of course, you could cheat and just press it the usual way with your touch, fingertips in initial fingertips. But if you wanted to really learn how to touch type, Mario Teaches Typing teaches you which finger to use on what letter, and it actually tracked words per minute of how fast you typed and how many errors you made while you were typing. It was really not a game per se because it didn't have a plot line, or it didn't have an ending. It just tracked how well you were doing and how long you were typing and how many mistakes you were making, and how many words you were typing while you were doing it. Although it definitely took away the tedium of typing the letters. So ASDF or HJKL, those were a JKL, semicolon. Those were your home keys, and Mario would teach you. You could set the game so that you could choose what keys you would be exercising on, or you could even exercise the entire keyboard, and the letters would show up on the blocks, on the Goombas that are coming towards you, and Mario would either punch the block or step on the Goomba, depending on if you press the letter correctly, the letter or the number or the apostrophe or whatever it is correctly. So that is Mario Teaches Typing. It was a really fun little game. And you didn't play it for the plot. You played it to really entice yourself for you to be able to learn how to type. So that is the first Mario game that I wanted to talk about on DOS. So the second Mario game that I wanted to talk about is Mario Time Machine. So Mario Time Machine is a game that came out also on disk operating system on DOS, where it featured Mario in a point and click adventure, much like the Carmen San Diego games. We're in time in Carmen San Diego. We're in time is Carmen San Diego. In this case, Mario was the plot is that Mario is challenged by Bowser because Bowser stole many time artifacts all throughout history, and things like Mozart's music, the apple from Isaac Newton, things like that. And Mario is tasked with traveling all throughout time, picking up clues and finding out about little factoids about all of these characters from history. The nice thing about it is the game actually allowed you to travel using a time machine, hence Mario Time Machine, and you would be able to talk to all of these characters all throughout history and learn about them. You would have actual conversations with them. They would be like real actual flesh and blood people. They would just not just be like static pictures in a book. They would have personalities, and sometimes they would be really funny too. Like in Mozart's case, you would realize that he had a wife. He had a musician friend as well who realized that the musician realized that Mozart was better than him, and it was a it was a point and click game where you chose different people to talk to, picked up clues, and filled out a document that had all the factoids about that particular character. Once you filled it out, then you would be able to rescue that time period from Bowser's clutches. Now, if you made too many mistakes in filling out the blanks, then it would kick you back to where the time machine was, and you'd have to start the whole thing all over again. But if you successfully completed it, then you would at least close that chapter of the game. This game had an ending, so if you were not able to finish all of the characters that Bowser captured, or the artifacts that Bowser spirited away, then Bowser would be able to escape to what he calls paradise. But if you successfully rescue everything and fix the timeline, then Bowser will get tossed back into the Jurassic era, if I remember correctly. So it was a really fun little educational game, Mario Time Machine. And if I remember correctly, it also came out on NES and SNES, but I was only able to play the DOS version. So these are educational titles: Mario Teaches Typing, Mario Time Machine. And these are great ways to teach your kids about how to type, not just the Tuldok system that I'm absolutely sure they're starting off with, or if you want them to learn a little bit about history in a fun manner, then Mario Time Machine is the one to try. Mario Teaches Typing, Mario Time Machine, both for DOS. Amazingly, you'll be able to try these out on your browser nowadays. You just type in play Mario Teaches Typing online or play Mario Time Machine online, and you'll be directed to a website, I'm absolutely sure, which will allow you to at least play the game. Now, of course, most DOS games are abandonware now, so it'll be up to you to find them if you really wanted to play them offline. But still, if you wanted to teach your kids how to type properly, Mario Teaches Typing, and if you wanted to teach kids about history, a little bit of history while they're having fun, Mario Time Machine is the game to try. So these are the two DOS games about Mario that I wanted to talk about and let you guys know because it's Mario. It's a me, Mario. It's March 10, and check out the games that are not as often discussed when we're talking about Mario. Some people might say they're not very good games, but heck, they hold a very special place in my heart because, you know, it's Mario. All right, back to my compatriots in Timeless Gamer Show, and I'll see you guys again next time. See you guys soon. Bye.
All right. Thank you for that, Sir Joel. How about that, guys? How very Sir Joel of him to come out with uh, the
Obscure.
Mario games that only he knows how to play them. on DOS.
It's it's it's
I think
just bizarre.
two of them were released on Super Nintendo. So the one with Mario with Time, or Time Machine, whatever it was, and there were a couple that were released on the SNES. But
It's like,
who
well,
bought them?
it's either that or Bill and Ted.
Oh, yeah, either that.
And I
But
just
no,
noticed something with the Mario teaches typing in the earlier levels when they try to teach you how to type, and it shows you ass like ASS.
ASS.
I don't know if you have noticed in in the clip.
I wasn't watching that closely.
They're talking about the donkey, okay?
Okay.
Yes.
It's for
Okay.
kids.
Anyway,
Sure.
so you're going to talk about your favorite Mario game, Sergio. You've had some time to think
Uh,
about that.
Me? Okay, so like I mentioned, guys, I'm not really much of a Mario player, even back as a kid.
Okay.
When the Famicom or the NES came out, I was one of those kids who never really had the mental aptitude or the patience to even get further past stage 2
You never
of
had
the first Super Mario
you,
the Super
you never
Mario
had the
game.
skill. You never had the skill,
I
basically.
never really I never really played that much of it.
Mm.
Maybe it's because it's a single player platformer. I mean, I'm okay with Contra. I mean, because in Contra you can have you can have a friend over and you can finish that game simultaneously. You can finish
Yeah.
Contra, but with Mario, it takes a lot of skill.
It's-
It takes a lot of patience to finish the whole 8 stages. Yeah,
I will say that with with the ones on the 8-bit platforms, the Famicom and NES, I will agree with you on that one. But when you go Super Nintendo
and
and beyond, you're all right.
it didn't really help the
Mm.
idea that every time you reach the Bowser's castle,
Mm.
you always see Toad. Oh, the princess is in another castle. Oh, that's a
Yeah, well,
if
that's
this was the early Atari game, the Atari generation. I mean, the game would have been over
mm,
right then and there. But no, that means you have to push through. And there are 8 stages, and each stage has like how many areas? 2 areas,
yeah,
right? Just to get past through. Ain't nobody got time for that.
yeah. There's quite a
We
few.
and keep in mind we were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old when that game came out,
Mm,
and it's either you have the console or you go to somebody else's house to play
yeah,
to play the game. So you really need, so unless you have the console, sure, you have most of the time to play it after school. But if you're the type of kid that you're only playing it in somebody else's house, you're
mm,
going to only play it like at most an hour or two.
yeah,
So I never really got
yeah,
that much enjoyment in Mario.
yeah.
That being said, what the fondest memories that I have with Mario, one of them is not the games, but the multimedia aspect of it. Specifically, this one, we showed this earlier, the Super Mario Brothers show. And I know that everyone here knows this one. So, Sergio Dem, when did this program was shown in the Philippines back then? 92, 93. I think it was channel.
Mm,
I think it was ABS-CBN Channel 2 when this showed out every Saturday morning, 9 a.m.
yes. I think it
If I
was
remember correctly,
around 93 or 94 but because I
around that
think
area.
I
And what
was
I like
on
about
second
this
grade
show,
in it.
what I like about this program is that even though that I know Mario the game, but I was more into the show more than the game itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If
There's a fun.
anything, I mean, I would have. I mean, I would have. I would have fell out of the game completely if it weren't for this one.
Hmm.
If there's anything about if there's one thing that this program did to me was by watching this show, it kept the interest of Mario still alive in me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think
In that aspect.
it's a big deal, isn't it, for a lot of young people? I remember speaking to a friend of mine who's in Japan. I said, "What's the big deal with Mario? What's the draw? What's wrong with Sonic the Hedgehog?" And then it goes, what it is with Japanese gamers is, and this is a psychological thing, which is they feel more of a need to save a princess in a castle from an evil monster, shall we say. That's the plot, isn't it, of Mario? He's there to rescue a princess. There's more of a pull for it. Whereas with Sonic the Hedgehog, what's he doing? Rescuing his, furry buddies from a mad scientist who's going to try and take over the world.
Oh, really?
It doesn't. There was no pull for the plot of Sonic. Whereas with Mario, it's the plot, isn't it? Saving princesses. So actually, the Japanese mindset, when I looked at a number of forums, which why they prefer the Mario games over the Sonic, that was one of the reasons. It was here to save the princess.
But he's a plumber, though. I mean, it's not like the castle has internal plumbing. What the hell?
Yeah, I know. Why plumbers? It's
And you would think that the castle is a medieval castle, right? I mean, it's not.
I mean, some people said Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario, must have been high when he created the first game, like with the magic mushrooms and all these creatures. He must have had a fever dream of sorts. But some of the best ideas come from those sort of dreams, and he dreamt up something that actually worked out in Nintendo's favor, and it's in the hearts and minds of many young gamers out there, and they love Mario. So there we go. But you're going to say your top Mario games, so Joe?
Oh no, I never really had a top Mario game. I'm more of the.
Not with a stick. Come on, there has to be one Mario game that you can sort of say, okay, I like this Mario game, even if it's not your favorite. What's the first something the one that you enjoyed the most? What's the one that you enjoyed the most? Come on.
Yeah, at least
one. I mean, JDM, he picked one. What's yours?
He tried. I didn't. That's the thing.
Not, man.
Oh, no, I'll talk about this because if we're talking about anything Mario, I'm talking about this one.
The movie, the TV show.
Okay. I'll just finish a point. I'll just finish my point about this one. So I like this one, the Super Mario Brothers show. It's live action, and then the first half of the show would be the live action part of it, and then the animated part, and then the animated portion of it. Which, if I remember correctly, the live action portion never really coincided with the animated portion. I mean, it's like two separate storylines. They never really connected each other. That's the thing. That's all that I can say about the Super Mario Brothers show. I mean, if I cannot even watch the whole thing, at least give me the opening intro. I'll sing to that. Hello, paisanos. It's the Super Mario Brothers show.
Yes, it.
That's my first Italian word, paisano.
At least you didn't say the Super Mario Brothers Lego sets that Lego have brought out, or something like their toys or something. Because it's a huge, lovely toy line that's exploded all over the place that everyone's into when it comes to Nintendo.
But okay, so in terms of the games, all right, fine. The only Mario games that I played, the Mario Brothers, the arcade one. Where you? Yep. So that's the one that you have the POW at the very center, and my idea of that game was I'm trying to save the POW for as long as I could. If I'm really in trouble, I'm only gonna use it. I mean, if there's a lot, it's very gratifying that there's a lot of enemies crawling around, and then you use the POW. I mean, there's no point of using the POW if there's only one Goomba in there. So, but I mentioned. So how many stages? How many stages was that game?
I think because I'd never completed. I think it's just an arcade game. It's obviously the first the Mario Brothers game was an arcade game, and I think it's just there to see how far you get.
Let's see how far you go.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it gets faster and faster. So it was there to take your credits, and you get a high score from it. So it was obviously a credit muncher, but a coin catcher, shall we say, for Nintendo. I never completed it, but obviously they made Mario Brothers Deluxe or whatever. They made obviously much more enhanced versions of that game since, but I never finished it because it's not a game that it's so repetitive and boring It's just the same thing over and over again. And
Over and over again.
Yeah.
And in all
I think it
fairness,
just loops.
they ported that game over on the. This is an interesting one for you. And this is where I really don't. This is something that I'd say is a bit negative on Nintendo's part, and I think they were a bit lazy with this. When the Game Boy Advance was released, all they did was they ported the NES and Super Nintendo games on the Game Boy Advance. They didn't create a brand new Mario platform adventure for that format, so that's something I was disappointed with. But what they did as well, and this is to do with Mario Brothers, is so Super Mario Advance was basically Mario Brothers 2, but you had two games in one, which was, you know, the Mario Brothers arcade that you mentioned, that was also with that game as well. So it's and Mario Brothers. So you actually had two games in one. And they did that the same thing with Mario Advance 2, which is Super Mario World, with that Mario Brothers arcade game in the cartridge. And the same with Mario Advance 3, which was, you know, Yoshi's Island, but that game was there. And also with Super Mario Advance 4, which is Mario Brothers 3, also with that Mario Brothers arcade game. So that game has had a lot of re-releases on the Advance, just as part of the packing type to be with those Mario Advance games, which they are basically the NES and SNES ports of the classic Mario games. But it would have been nice if they created, you know, a Mario game that was dedicated to the platform. I mean, obviously, there's Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and, you know, Mario Kart Super Circuit. It wasn't like a proper brand new fresh Mario platform game for that handheld, which is a bit disappointing. But that being said, where would it have differed from those NES and SNES games graphically? So I can understand why they didn't go ahead with that, and they just waited until the Nintendo DS. And even then, they just ported Mario 64, and we had to wait 2 years for new Super Mario Brothers, which is actually the first sort of new a proper new fresh, you know, handheld Mario adventure since Mario Land 2, I would say. But anyway, this is my gap on the handheld side.
The other games that would come to mind. So I had this. So I have this so I have my best friend. This was like around the mid '90s. So he had a Game Boy. So I would go to his house so I can play the Game Boy. And two of his games that he had was Super Mario for the Game Boy, which I only played like the first stage because it hurt my eyes a lot.
Yeah.
The second game would be Dr. Mario, and this was the time when Tetris was Dr. Mario, and this was the time when Tetris, the brick game was a big hit when it first came out.
Yeah.
So, and at first it confused the hell out of me. What am I supposed to do with this one? Because I didn't realize, because unlike with Tetris, it's pretty straightforward, right? Just make sure you complete four straight lines and then that's it. But with Dr. Mario, you're supposed to mix and match different kinds of patterns, different kinds of shapes and of shapes.
So you got like three colors of bacteria. You got red viruses or bacteria, what we want to call them. Let's call them germs. So you got red germs, green germs, red germs, blue germs, and yellow germs. And you have pills that are the color, and you have to direct the pills on top of the germs, and you get 4 in a row, and it will kill the germ. That's basically it. So
you say that there are colors, and it didn't really help, guys. It's in monochrome. All you see is just green.
Oh yeah, the black and white.
There was the pattern.
There's not much you can really do with that unless there was a specific shade on that. But that game, they made a Mario 64, Dr. Mario 64 as well, and that's had this before. So yeah, Mario has puzzle games. Oh, I can't believe I forgot that. Yeah, so the Mario Cross, and there's a whole bunch of other Mario games which I don't really know of. I'm sure there are a few that I've missed out actually. But yeah, he had his, Dr. Mario. Yeah, he got that too. Mario's had a lot of vocations. He's a doctor.
Mario has a lot. Mario has a lot of repertoire in his belt. But being a plumber by profession, you won't see. There's no game of him being an actual plumber. I would like to see Nintendo coming out with a Mario plumber simulation.
Mario at work.
Where you actually do actual plumbing.
Yeah, he does the work. Yeah,
and he should wear a tie.
Yeah,
the plumbers wear ties, right? Plumbers don't wear ties. Yeah. But even that game, that it doesn't even show any plumbing.
Yeah. Oh well.
It shows a lot of tits and ass, but no plumbing.
Well, I don't know about that. That's the rules.
What else comes to mind? Oh, Super Mario Brothers 2. I was not even aware of that, but I knew the backstory
Yeah, yeah,
much
yeah,
later on
yeah.
because
Oh,
after Super Mario Brothers 1, in the Philippines, we went straight with Super Mario Brothers 3.
yes.
And to me personally, I like it better than Super Mario Brothers 1. Like
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
else.
Mario
There's
Brothers 2
a
is the
lot more
best ever.
colorful. There's a
Yeah,
lot more design on that game. There's a lot more things to do in that game. But
yeah.
that being said, I only reach as far as stage 3. That's
Oh
it.
my god.
Ah.
I
That's
got.
it.
I think I'm a hypocrite because I got to World 8. Okay, and I was stuck on the last 2 levels before the last boss. It got really hard. It got really hard for me. But that being said, I was a very young man then. If I revisit that game now, I could probably beat it. So I'll have to pull up my Super Nintendo, plug in Mario All Stars, and see if the game save is still there. But we'll play it. Maybe I should do that, or maybe I should just play from scratch. Who cares? Play it and then give it a proper go.
How about you, Sir JDM? What can you say about Super Mario Brothers 3?
Mm.
Just use the flute.
Just use the flute.
Yeah, just use the flute. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
if you can.
Well, you can do that.
Sir Goose Loose of Twitch here asking, do you consider the
Well,
Wrecking Crew as a Mario game?
Yeah, at the start of the video, I did say after Donkey Kong, he was in Wrecking Crew, and Donkey Kong and Wrecking Crew are his earlier outings before he found his footing. I mean, if you want to be really officious, Super Mario Brothers and the Mario Brothers arcade game, 1983, and Super Mario Brothers is where Mario really began. Wrecking Crew, even though it is Mario, I would consider it a Mario game of sorts, but not officially. So I'd say unofficially it is a Mario game, not officially though. It's not canon, but we know it's Mario in there. Yeah. He's also in Punch Out. He's the referee in Punch Out.
He's the referee in there.
Yeah. So he's everywhere. Nintendo
I told you, he's everywhere except plumbing.
Yeah, but, so to answer the question, Wrecking Crew is a Mario game. I don't. I wouldn't say it's an official Mario game now. I wouldn't say that. But obviously, you see a Wrecking Crew reference in the Mario movie that just came out. Because obviously he was in that area before. So that could be a backstory actually if they want to. They could do so much with the new Mario movie, and I'm excited to be honest. I'm glad that the Mario Brothers movie was successful because it set a standard.
Oh.
Same with Sonic the Hedgehog and Detective Pikachu. Their video game movies are well done, and now it's exciting because people know that's the quality of what people want of franchises. And maybe
So that's the standard, huh?
Maybe they think, okay, we can make a video game movie on our character that's of a qualitative order that's the same as Mario and Sonic, and we can make the formula that works really well. So I'm excited that the Mario Brothers movie did really well. And I suspect, because the Mario Brothers movie was, in terms of a plot, is quite straightforward, to be honest. And they played it safe. I think the next one will be a much better story and a bigger movie and something that's much more enjoyable than this one. This is a good foundation. It'll be interesting to see which direction they go in with this franchise. So for the next movie, I'm quite excited, to be honest, because while sequels aren't always better than the original, I suspect they'll probably make this one better than the original because with animations, we can see it happen. Like Shrek 2 was much better than Shrek, and you see that with a lot of these franchises that are animations, the sequels tend to be better and do better. Sonic 2, for all intents, is a better film than the first one. The Sonic 1, they played it quite safe. Second film, there's a bit longer. You got a lot more going on. And it was a much more fulfilling film, in my opinion. The only thing I don't like about the Sonic films is the human element in it. They should make it fully animated like they do with the Mario film. But I know that Jim Carrey's going to come back for the third Sonic film. That's another story.
He has to. Oh, and speaking of movies, the last most fond memory of Mario that I have is this one, of course. And I know these gentlemen right here can agree. This one. So, the very first Mario movie, back in '92.
Do you actually like this film? I mean, you can say it. So if you like this film,
No. I didn't say I like it. I'm just saying memorable. All right.
Why are you torturing everyone with the bloody video? I mean, no one wants to see
No,
this.
no, no,
Tell
I'm
us.
just saying.
That being said,
Visual aid and everything. Okay.
if I'm channel
So,
surfing, watch this.
for the for you guys who are listening to us in the audio, so we did a review of the 2023 Super Mario movie, but we really didn't we hardly touched the surface in regarding with the first one. So in regarding with this first one, so we are showing the trailer for the Super Mario Brothers movie, the 1992 movie. When I first saw the actual poster back in the Philippines, we get our movie announcements through the newspapers.
Yeah.
There's no internet at the time. There's no TV. There's no TV ads. We get our movie posters from newspapers, those black and white newspapers. Am I right, Sir JDM?
Yeah.
So we get those newspaper ads, and I saw Super Mario Brothers movie. Oh shit! Like blew my mind, right?
Yeah.
So and it was all the it was a big it's a big topic among kids
Hmm.
back in grade school,
Yeah.
and I remember I was there. I was able to convince my mom to take me to the movies. I think it was my uncle who it was my uncle
You
who took.
saw the first Mario movie in the cinemas when it came out.
So my uncle was the one who took me and my brother to see the Super Mario Brothers movie back in '92.
Yeah.
And yeah, much to my surprise, just like any other kids who saw that movie, what the fuck was this?
So you didn't enjoy it. You got angry. You thought it was a shit film. So it was like-
Well, I did. I enjoyed it for what it was, but it was still confusing. Where are the actual Goombas? I mean, who? I mean,
There's a big-
yeah,
there's
sure.
a
I mean, you see
head-
Mario and Luigi as the person, but you're trying to convince yourself that this the villain is actually Bowser.
Hmm.
They
King Koopa.
called him Koopa, right?
Because he was King Koopa. Before they called him Bowser,
Yeah,
he was known as King Koopa in the games.
And mind you, guys, I was like 7, 8 years old, so I don't even understand what the fuck was the plot was, the story was,
Yeah.
and not only that I rewatched the 1992 movie to prepare for the 2023 movie. I watched both, okay, just to have a comparison, so I can rant it further. When I realized what the plot was for the 1992 movie, it just confused me even more. So dinosaurs supposedly evolving
Like,
to become
the princess went into the cement
humanoid
port.
creatures. What the hell?
The princess went to the adventure port, or the Mario Brothers were going to save the princess. That's what it was about. Well, she wasn't a princess. She was just. Was it Daisy? It wasn't even Peach.
It's
It was
Princess
Daisy.
Daisy. Where the hell is
Yeah.
Peach? Right?
And that's it. They obviously.
Oh,
they
I'm sorry.
and
Back in the Philippines, we don't know her as Peach. We called her Princess Toadstool. Am I right, Sir JDM?
the coastal, yeah.
Yes.
So it's just stupid. It's just stupid what they did with that film, and
Mm.
yeah.
So I remember waiting for the movie trailer to show on TV every day just to see the Mario trailer over and over again. I did that too, according to Screws Loose. I did that too. Sir JDM, what can you say about the the first movie, the first time you watched it?
You know what? Unlike you, Sergio, I was so lucky because I saw the movie a year later on TV. When they show the movie this year, then only on the theaters.
They'll
Then
show it the next year on
yes,
TV
they
for
will show
free.
it. Yeah, like a premiere on TV.
Hmm.
Then but I was unfortunate enough to watch it very late at night, especially it was a Sunday evening, and tomorrow I have to wake up early because of school.
We have school we have school the
Yes.
next day.
And you know how these TV stations try to insert
Some commercials in it.
all of the advertisements. Yeah, it's like a 3-hour movie, not realizing 3 hour has passed, and I didn't even finish it because I
There's way too
remember
many ads. What the hell?
I think my mom or my one of my aunts asked me to turn off the TV so I could wake up early the next morning. And I didn't really know. I don't like what you said when you saw it in the cinema. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what the plot is. I was looking for Goombas. I was
You were,
looking for
I
this
mean,
turtle.
we were searching for things that reminds us of the game.
Yes,
All
at
we
least
saw
Mm.
there was
one.
Mario and Luigi. That's it. And mind you,
Then
guys, uh, this came out when Super Mario Brothers 2 came out. So we didn't know who Birdo was. We didn't know who was Daisy. We didn't know Daisy was
Big Bertha.
Well, hang on a minute.
Berta.
Daisy was the princess in Super Mario Land in 1989. Yeah. So this Super Mario Brothers movie it came out in 92, 93, didn't
No,
it? So Mario
we didn't get any of the games aside from Super
okay,
Mario
you
Bros.
missed out
One and
the-
then three. We only got the 1 and 3. We didn't get any other games other than those two. That's
Ah.
why when some of the characters were being introduced, we didn't know who they were.
Ah. Okay. Okay. So yeah, it came out in 93 here in the UK. The Mario Brothers movie. I mean, I didn't even know about it until it was on television. That's the truth. That's how crap it probably was. And I think for me,
That's how cheap we were.
it, it comes in the category of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and it's a guilty pleasure. Whenever I'm on a channel surfing and I catch it halfway, I think, yeah, let's watch this piece of crap. Because even though it's a crap
Yoshi
film,
was there, but he was an actual dinosaur. What the hell? He
it's
was
an
not
interesting
cute.
design. I mean, it's an interesting design in the direction they go to. So for me, I'm just fascinated at what direction they went in. It is a fascinating sort of design and how they did it. It's quite a dark film. It's very sort of cyberpunkish, the world that they brought it into. So it's interesting. But you know what? Like, it's even Bob Hoskins, who played Mario, regretted it because his boy told him about it and all this crap, and he didn't
Oh yeah.
realize it was going to be.
I watched the video the Norman the gaming historian's YouTube video about the history of the movie, and the
Yeah.
movie had a lot of rewrites, and there were a lot
Yeah.
of writers, a lot of directors who flew in back and forth until they settled on a couple of
Yeah.
directors, husband
Yeah.
and wife directors. I think they were I think one of their best work was Max Headroom, and
Yeah.
which and then they were slated to do the Super Mario Brothers movie, but in their minds they wanted to do something a little bit different from what the original screenplay was, and
Yeah.
it got changed way too much that the actors grew tired of it. They didn't really care much for it. Even with the Nintendo execs, when they found about it, even Shigeru Miyamoto was like, we
Yeah.
already paid for this. I mean, what else can we do?"
Yeah.
So
this
they
is it.
resigned themselves and just
I think
came
that
out
might have
the
been
way.
why, I think that's what led Nintendo to guard their IPs a bit more because they made a crappy
Yeah.
film. In fact, the thing is,
Took them
Sega
20 years.
I think there was a question to one of the Sega people, which was like, "Why didn't you make a Sonic movie back in the 90s?" And they goes, "No, because we wanted to protect our IP from being crap. So instead of making a crappy Sonic movie, they decided to make some Sonic games which weren't so good either. So they did that to damage Sonic's reputation. Forget that, they did it themselves. But with Nintendo, they just brought out this. Well, Nintendo and greenlit this film, and it's just disappointing. You know that they had 3 writers. I'm looking at the IMDb screen right now. 3 writers for this, directors for this, and they couldn't even make a decent film. And I think the problem is these people didn't understand the source material. They didn't play the video games or know about it or do their research properly.
I mean, I'm not gonna say they didn't understand the source material. They just couldn't bring it to live action properly.
Yeah.
Like the premise of the game is crazy enough. Plumber jumping around,
Yeah.
mushroom kingdom, Goombas flying around, crawling around, saving a princess, jumping on bricks and flagpoles. So how can you translate that into live action?
It's just stupid. I mean, I'm looking at the casting for this. I'm like, bloody hell.
I
It's
think
just
it would make sense if they did the live action, but when they go to the world where there was Koopa and the princess, they turn into animated versions of themselves
like
instead.
like what they did on,
Yeah,
on the TV show.
a TV show.
so. This is how
They
Yeah.
could
messed
have
up
done it.
it is.
They could
Check
have
this
done
out.
something like that.
Check this out, right? This is how wrong this film is. Okay, so you got Bob Hoskins is Mario, and you got John Leguizamo is Luigi
Gianluca
Mario,
Zamo.
Yeah.
and then you have Dennis Hopper is cast is King Koopa,
Mm.
Samantha Mathis is Daisy, right? Fisher Stevens, okay, he's Iggy Cooper, okay. You got Richard Edson who's Spike Cooper, and then you have, um, now those creatures, right, which we thought were Goombas with the big teeth, the big things with the small heads or whatever. They put in the machine, they turn them into Goombas or whatever. They've called that Toad in IMDb. I'm like, hang about, when they called Goombas or something, and then I'm like, okay, and then you got and Lance Henriksen, who's basically the father of Daisy in this alternative universe or whatever. Apparently, he's credited as being King Bowser. So they've totally messed up the names and
They
what they
totally messed it up. So,
they totally messed it
seriously.
up. Like, you can't have a King Bowser and a King Koopa. It's the same character. So that's how messed up that first movie was. It's an abomination. But anyway, I guess they just wanted is a cash cow, and they got their money, and that was it. They got these big actors in there. People paid to see it, and it bombed eventually. But anyway, that's the Super Mario Bros. Movie. An abomination that should never have been. Oh, anyway, yeah.
Anyway, so
I think I can't stand any more of this topic. Can we talk about something else?
any more footage of this?
This is upsetting me now. Oh my god, look at that.
Anything else to add about the movies or JD?
I think I had enough of this movie. It's giving me a headache.
I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we will do a review of the Super Mario Brothers movie eventually.
I'm not even going to come for that episode because it'll upset me.
If Sir Viraj can stock it.
I will not
Watching
waste
it
my
again.
time on such trash. Street Fighter, I'll talk about. Yeah, we can do a review on that.
Oh shit! We'll talk about Street Fighter.
Or we can talk
Because,
about Resident Evil or Mortal Kombat.
Because what?
Abomination. We've given it too much limelight that it deserves. It doesn't even deserve to be spoken of. That's how shit this film is. Anyway.
Because back in the 90s, guys, there's four. You got Super Mario, you got Double Dragon, you got Mortal Kombat,
Oh yeah.
and what's the other one? Street Fighter.
Street
So
Fighter.
you got the four movies there.
Yeah, Double Dragon. Is
And
so
out of all of the four, Mortal Kombat is number one, of course.
Because I've heard how crap that is, so I'm not even going to watch it.
And say what you will about Jean-Claude Van Damme. Raul Julia made that movie for me. So Street Fighter for me is number two. Okay. And then Double Dragon is my third place because of Alyssa Milano's ass.
Okay.
That's number three. And Super Mario Brothers is number four. The very last.
Dear oh dear. Not even one redeeming factor. Right. That's us. I think that's it. That's us.
All right. That's the show, guys. And it's been 2 hours. And
So these Mario games we've suggested, those of you who are still listening and haven't fallen asleep yet, for those Mario games, listen, give them a go. It's March the 10th, Mario Day. Play a Mario game, enjoy yourself. I mean, I'm not going to play a Mario game. I'm going to play River City Girls. But I mean, you guys play the Mario games that that we've suggested because they're very good. If you haven't played the ones I've suggested, you should, because they're really. You know what? If you need something to play to scratch that itch, something that's just easy to get into, the games that I've mentioned, you can't go wrong. And there's so many great Mario games out there. In fact, a lot of the good Mario games came out after 2000, in my opinion, if I'm being honest. You got some good 3D stuff out there, and they're quite accessible. All right.
how about you, Sir JDM? How would you advise people to celebrate Mario Day? How about doing what Sir Ricky said? How about watching The Wizard?
The Wizard.
The Wizard. Yeah, I remember that.
That's
And just play a Mario game that isn't you're not familiar with. Try to explore how um, he got into the RPG games, the puzzle games, and see Mario in a different light. So that's it. And you can also check. I think they did Mario Day special in their website, Nintendo website, where you can get a free trial of 14 days for the Nintendo online service instead of just 7 days. They made it 2 weeks, and then I think they have special discounts for these um, Nintendo Switch games. So if you didn't have Super Mario Odyssey, you might want to check it out. Like me, I might play it in the future. Looking forward to it and just play a Mario game.
Mm.
Just play a Mario game. All right. My advice to you people: just play. Just I don't know. Just do anything Mario.
Well, my advice to
Um,
you, Joe, is it's a disgrace you haven't even played enough Mario. So how about playing some of the games I suggested? Forget all this RPG
no,
crap you're saying.
Yes.
Play a good
I.
Mario
I
game.
mean,
He needs to play the
all
Mario
right.
game.
Okay. You know what? I'll play the Super Mario RPG. Sure, for the original on the Super
Yeah,
Nintendo.
I
I'll
think you
play
should.
that.
I think you
Okay.
bloody should.
Uh,
It's a
as a
disgrace.
JRPG player, I'll play that.
You bond with, and you talk about some shitty movie for
Mm.
15 minutes.
It's going to
But
take one for the
I'll take one for the team. And for you other guy, I mean, you can to you guys, you can watch the movie, either of the movies, both movies. You can watch the TV show,
Well,
the
don't watch
animated TV show back then. You can do that. You can play uh, the main franchise. You can play the you can play the Mario Karts. You can play the Smash fighting games. Any Mario will do. Any Mario game from the franchise will do in celebration of March 10th, the National Mario Day.
yes.
And
Play Mario with a friend.
with a friend, it is much enjoyable with a friend. Okay,
Mm.
and that's the show, guys. And thank you all so much for staying for as long as for as long as this show uh, has run. And thank you so much for Sir JDM and Sir Viraj for dropping in some of their knowledge, especially Sir Viraj with the history of the Mario games as briefly as possible. I mean, there are a lot of Mario games that we didn't even cover, guys. I mean, what Sir Viraj mentioned that's just the main franchise. We didn't even
The
talk
main
about
staples,
the spin-offs.
they're the main staples. You know, the main
It's
staples.
gonna be way over the. I mean, we're gonna be over. We're going way over our time. Overtime if we're going to talk about the other spin-off games of Mario. So that's it, and we'll just do our shameless plugs before we end the show. Sir JDM, where can they find you?
Yes, you can find me on 123 Go Retro on my Facebook page and on Twitch. But unfortunately, due to time constraints, I can't stream regularly. So you can just see me here on the Timeless Gamer Show. I do the technical side of things. By the way, um, if you still can open a tab on your browser, you can check our website www.timelessgamershow.com. We're also live in there. Our Facebook feed is there. So we really hope you could watch these streams on our website, and we will update it time to time. But it's still a work in progress, but I'm still working hard to, yes, that one. And you can see the different sprites of Mario throughout the
Very nice,
years.
very nice, very nice.
That one is from the Odyssey, right? Super Mario Odyssey
Yeah,
and the
honestly, yeah,
damn 1993 game. I mean 1993 movie.
Mm.
And that's it. You can see me here on the Timeless Gamer Show.
Cool,
All
cool.
right, thank you for that, Sir JDM, and thank you for your work for the website. Sir Viraj, where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me on the Sega Genesis group on Facebook. You can find me on the Sega Mega Masters channel on YouTube, which is taking a break from it because, sadly, Sedan's not well. He's recovering from something, and when we recover, we'll make some more episodes. But we've got quite a number of episodes there if you want to look at some retro Sega reviews that we've done and then interviews, etc. So that should be fun. And you'll find me here, obviously, on the Timeless Gamer podcast. So I do come here every now and then. And obviously, I know nobody from the UK is listening because it's predominantly a Philippine show, but I'll be at the London Gaming Market next Sunday because I buy and sell video games under Vigon Games, so you'll find me there. So there's 4 places you can find me if you're listening in the UK, which I doubt. But anyway, back to you, Sir Joe.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Viraj. And just a few plugs here as well. Let me just fix this camera. So we are going to have the Back to the Culture video gaming market. So this is a Retromancy Official Incorporated presents with association with the Game Boy Philippines Minicon. So on April 6th, April 7, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., we are hosting a mini event where we gather the most reputable video game resellers in Metro Manila in one roof. So we will be on the Promenade Mall, basement 2 of Green Hills, San Juan, NCR, Metro Manila, in the Philippines. So from Atari to PlayStation 5, sellers from across Metro Manila will be sharing their wares, up all for sale. So go check that out. It's going to be for 2 days. It's going to be located in the Collective Base, Promenade Mall, Basement 2, Green Hills, April 6 to 7, 2024, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's both Saturday and Sunday.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, I'm ashamed I'm all the way here. I'd love to go. I'm all the way in the UK.
Yeah.
I've got my own market to run, but
you have your own. You have your own event, right?
It's a lot of fun to see something different. I mean, one thing to those listening that I might be skeptical of these things, and I'll just say this: I know a lot of parents go to museums to show them the way we used to game. We have a science museum exhibit here in London, but the best way to look at the past is going to these retro gaming markets because it's all there, and it's just amazing going there. And there's people selling PlayStation, people selling Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo, NES. It's all there, and you can just go through it all and have a look at all the things. Then it is a wonderful nostalgic trip through time, and you might find something that you like. So I'm actually I'll promote this event, even though I'm not even in your country. Go and see it; it's fun. Go.
Biraj, actually, Biraj, we have a slogan for this event. It says from our cash to yours. Yeah.
Was it? I think it's chest, like
A chest,
like
yeah.
treasure chest,
Like
From our
our
chest
treasure
to yours.
chest.
like where you put your old stuff in it.
It's
Yeah, but
like
there's
our slogan.
But there's just so much great stuff there. So go for it. If I was in Manila, I'd be going down there and just having a look. I'd love this. I love these sort of things. The atmosphere of these sorts of events. I'm sure it's the same there. I know I'm generalizing it. It's so much fun. It's such a good vibe going to these events, and so much fun just talking to vendors and other people there. And it's fun. I enjoyed it.
Oh.
To be
And keep in mind, for all of those people who are coming to the Back to the Culture event, the collective base in basement number 2 of the Promenade Mall, that place is cold as hell. So make sure you bring a jacket or a sweater. It is cold down there. And for all of you guys who are coming in with a vehicle, the area is just adjacent to the parking lot. So you can just bring your vehicle there, park there, and then just go straight to the event venue. Admission is free. You don't need a ticket to get into this one. It's free. Just go on ahead and see what you can find. There's not even an early bird access here, so be there as early as 10:30, so you can maximize your time browsing around on what you can see at the Back to the Culture video game mini market. There you go.
get first dibs on what you want. That's what I'd say. Anyway.
And of course, we got BitMap Books. Um, right there. So we are an official affiliate of BitMap Books. So you can enjoy the history of your favorite video game franchises in
Mm.
very colorful pages with meaningful anecdotes coming from developers and video game critics and players by getting a publication from Bitmap Books by using the link right there on the chat. You will be helping the show, keeping the lights up around here, keeping the program running as a well-oiled machine. You'll be giving us a solid by clicking on that link right there on the chat or in the description box below. Use that link to get your own bitmap book. So it has a lot of collections right there. You got the JRPGs, the click and points, the NES compendium, the Super Nintendo compendium, the Mega Drive compendium, the N64 compendium, beat 'em ups, the Game Boys, the handhelds, even King of Fighters, and there's a lot more. Go
Mm.
check that out, Bitmap Books, by using the link that we provided right there in the chat and in the description box below.
Yeah.
Of course, there's one more. We are also an official affiliate now of Streamyard, and Streamyard has been very, very good to us here in the Timeless Gamer Show. Streamyard has been our main source of broadcasting ever since episode one. And with our show, it's powered by Streamyard. There's a good news. You can start your own online live streams and podcasts with a 14-day free trial by using the link that we're going to provide right now, uh, right here in the chat, and you can also see it on the description box. So if you're going to use that link and that you are planning to do your own podcast, or you're planning to do your own online show, or you have a webinar that you're planning, you can use StreamYard to power that broadcast. You can use that link so you can have a 14-day free trial without any credit cards necessary. Just use the link that we're showing you at the chat and in the description box. That is StreamYard. Very, very good. That's a very, very good product that we are using up until now.
All right.
And that's it, guys. That's the whole show. And on behalf of Sir Joel, Sir Sir Dan, Miss I, and Sir Ray, who can't be here right now, our games and our bodies may grow out of date, but our gaming experiences will forever remain. Hey,
Timeless. Swing your arms.